To SimPlay Motorsport, ladies and gentlemen, here for the Pro Series in tonight's action. Only 15 cars out there on the grid, hoping for a couple more to get in the lobby tonight. Then it's a short grid, but it's full of talent and class once again this evening here at this legendary Suzuka circuit. No Skunky tonight, which gives Dan pretty much a helping hand in this championship standings, and he is looking strong to take the championship, and with a good result tonight over his rivals, this could put him in good stead. I'm your host, Mathew Duffin, joined in the box by PN Motorsport, or aka Phil Raiden. Phil, Suzuka tonight, final race of the week, and once again, the pros get the best of the conditions.
Yeah, they're really lucky, aren't they, this season, the pros? Really lucky. Suzuka! So make sure you're not in a McLaren or a Ferrari going into turn 1 in the front row. 1990 comes to mind. Yeah. Or two McLarens into the Casio chicane in 89. These are all before Matt was born, by the way. So we wouldn't know this.
No. Well, I do know who you're on about. You're on about Senna and Prost, so I do know that one.
The ding-dongs they had,
I do know the history there. But it's pro evening. It's going to be a great night, Phil. We're just looking at the timing screens already. Dan Davies currently setting the pace. Saw before we came on air, before the lobby got reset. Overtaker has done some pretty decent lap times out there in that practice session, so we're expecting to see what he could do. But Dan Davies currently fastest from Fraser O'Brien. Ben's P3 with Mike Matthews currently set in that fourth position at the moment. Michael Harris is fifth, with Pedro Viana sixth. Darren Yeo is sat P7. Jamal Clouden's eighth. He's about to come to the line. We have got Machado in now, so that's another car in the session as Clouden doesn't improve. Diz is back this week. It's a great to see Diz back out there with Matt Wright. Paolo's P11. Patrick Leger, yeah, is back. He's P12 at the moment. Sky Schundelmeyer down in P13. Overtaker Gary and Machado, who's only just got in the lobby. Gary's not long been in. But, it's going to be an interesting session. It's going to be an interesting time to see what people can do around here.
It is, yeah, man. Well, should we call Overtaker Mr. Suzuka? Because he always goes well here, doesn't he? 2
pole positions and 5 race wins he's got around this circuit. He's just phenomenal, isn't he, around here? He's just brilliant. Yeah. He always seems to go well.
He is, and, well, what was it last season where you deafened me for the first time? Was it when Dan took pole?
I think so, yeah. Dan took pole, and I think he took the race win, but, you know, what we've got to remember is this is also a mixture of Sakito from the Project Cars 2, which was their version of Suzuka. They didn't get the full license for Suzuka, so it missed. You come out the Degners, it missed a hairpin.
And it went the wrong way in some places as well. Like,
the S's, I think, was a corner less.
And when it went over Degner, it went left.
Yeah.
It went right instead of
which
left.
Which actually is there. That layout actually does exist. Who's coming through the Degners now? That is the 135. Who's coming up to the Degners? Dan Davis is coming up to the Degners. We can show you what we're talking about. So as we can see on board, look, Dan Davis coming into Degner 1 now, and then into Degner 2. And if you look at the barrier, you come under the bridge and you'll see that the bit of tarmac.
Them bits of tarmac just under the bridge, they don't go.
Oh no, they actually don't go anywhere. So Project Cars 2 was wrong. I thought it was an actual different layout, but it's not.
It's completely wrong.
So Project Cars 2 didn't have to write that. But we counted them as the Suzuka results.
Well, from a distance, when you looked at it like from the mini map we have here, minus the hairpin, it looks like Suzuka. So that's all that mattered, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem.
It looked like Suzuka if you squinted. Yeah, and we come off a fantastic Pro-Am last night.
Yeah, brilliant Pro-Am. Brilliant Pro-Am with a brilliant race. We've come off a brilliant GT4 series, where it's been another fantastic one. Good evening to Micro J's Tips, Rob Smith in the chat. And good evening to Tracy, and a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Tracy, obviously our national holiday in America. Happy Thanksgiving. Early Turkey Day for you guys. Not jealous at all. But hopefully you've had a great day, Tracy. Beautiful, beautiful meat.
I would eat it all the time. In fact, I would do anyway when you go to Carvery. You go to Carvery, you've got turkey bear.
Yeah,
Oh,
but that
the
means you've got to
turkey.
go for a carvery. Yeah, all the time.
Stuffing, lots of gravy. I'm getting hungry again. Does anyone do a carvery on Just Eat? Right, as we come into the close of this practice session here at Suzuka, first person to finish the lap would be Matt Wright in his Ferrari.
That's Harris, who was just in the gravel. Gary Leach has got out there for a lap, so we've not got to see a lap time from Overtaker or Machado yet. Now, we know Overtaker likes to test in the conditions when they're a little more favourable, but yeah, it's not turned to optimum yet, Phil. And one, that's to do with the amount of cars that's out there on the track. Yeah, don't forget, there's only been 14 for the majority of the session. Gary come in late, and Machado got in just a moment ago. So that's not going to help things. But also, you know, it is warmer than yesterday. Yesterday was 12 degrees track temp. Well, it's now 26 degrees track temp because the sun is on it. It was very cloudy yesterday. And now, all of a sudden, you know, that track temperature is rose up. The temperature is 7 degrees warmer. So already, you know, you're starting to feel the difference in this circuit from what we saw last night to tonight.
Yeah. Oh, I've forgotten now. I was a little bit distracted by Discord because my Team Jag teammate Benny Vargas commented on my picture of Ferraris I've got.
I did just see that. Right, so we are 7 degrees warmer. We are now track still fast. Look, going into that race, we'll see what happens as the race goes first.
I'll tell you what though, with is the grid a bit? What's gone on with the grid? Because as there's missing cars, isn't there?
I think there is missing cars. Yeah, I think there is a couple. So yeah,
yeah, because you got
I think there's three cars that are missing.
Yeah, because the one next to O'Brien's missing, the one next to Diz is missing, and then the one next to Taker. I'll tell you what, I think Taker might win this race one. He's only got 4 cars in front of him.
It's going to be tricky though. It's still going to be tricky for him.
Yeah, I Mr. Suzuka, as he's now known as, like you're Mr. Zolder.
I'll take that. I will take that. Sorry, I'm just doing the race 1 prediction.
Oh, yeah. I'll see it pop up on the YouTube chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe to SimPlay Motorsport. If you enjoy what you see here, we are back next Tuesday for the GT4s. And the weather at the moment is looking interesting for Kota.
Yeah, it is. It's looking rather wet
moist.
at the moment. Yeah.
It's looking moist. Oh, I can't vote who because
Right.
YouTube.
I'm not going to play the overlay graphic because we've got 3 cars. In fact, you know what? I'm going to play the overlay graphic. We've got 3 cars missing. So again, the grid order not as it should be. But the reverse grid for Pro tonight then should see Fraser O'Brien on pole from what is Daniel. But Daniel, no show tonight then in this one. That promotes then that of Diz up into P2. It's Inventing meant to be P4. Not heard from him either. Sky Schundelmeyer should then be alongside Patrick Lage. They are alongside each other just on the second row of the grid. Then it should be Michael Eckhoff, but not heard from him. Then Overtaker. What should have been P8 is now P5. Paolo from Machado. And it should be Darren Yeo from Gary Leach. The 2 SPR boys lining up alongside each other. Before them, that of Pedro Vienna and Jamal Clouden. With Ben and Matt Wright coming up to one another. Ben again flying the flag for BSP with Sky tonight. Mike Matthews and Michael Harris alongside each other with Dan Davis at the back on his own, and it's actually put Dan ahead of Michael Harris, so Michael Harris hasn't missed out too many positions. But yeah, grid order not as it should be. But for Sky and Ben, they're flying the flag for BSP once again. Good evening to Gary Clarbell in the chat. As Phil said, join us next Tuesday for the GT4. Dan Davis will be bringing you all the action there.
Yeah. No, and Tracy, no, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving here in the UK. It's not a
No. I have done Thanksgiving because I've got Canadian in my family. We did Canadian Thanksgiving, which I think is in October. But I ain't complaining at a turkey date. No way am I. Lovely. Good luck said to Team SPR, says Micro J's in the chat. Hey guys, cheering on the FBR boys tonight. Harris and Diz keeping it fat. As me and Phil are in the commentary box, I think, as well.
I think that's the real fat bloke this time, not Sam.
That is the real fat bloke. And it's a shame fat bloke's had to pull out from the season due to an injury he's got to his arm and shoulder. So, speedy recovery, my friend. You're speaking to two people who sort of race with injuries all the time, but it's, especially one who races on a wheel. You know, I can very much, agree with how painful it can be on certain days. So, massively so. But this is arm and shoulder, so I assume that's a little, for the steering wheel, a little worse than, I think you'd be able to sort of sit a bit more better on the pad than you would the steering wheel. But fat bloke, wish you a speedy recovery, and hopefully you get back to the ways as well. So we got the fat bloke cheering on the FPR boys. We got Micro J's cheering on the Team SPR boys. We got Tracy cheering on BSP, and then Hypertech saying go on the GBR and the FBR. You can't cheer for two teams. You're as bad as Tony now in the football.
Technically, they are two teams joined together.
They have merged, haven't they? Yeah, Fat Bloke Racing of Diz and Jamal Clouden, or Eduardo Scissorhands. That's his Spanish name.
Siciliano.
Eduardo Siciliano Handios. Who starts down the order in that Mercedes-Benz tonight. But it's Fraser O'Brien who's going to lead them away into the chicane for the first time this evening. And what an interesting fight this will be throughout the rest of the night. Get your votes in for who you think is going to be the race winner. As for the 20-minute sprint, we're about to go green here in this race. I believe Richard Beasley's got married this week, so congratulations to Richard Beasley and partner. But we are, for the first time this evening, very long and patient wait. We're nearly there.
Almost.
We're green to go here for round 17 of the season. It looks a decent start already from that of Fraser O'Brien as they come in towards turn one. Diz has got alongside him, if not in front. Diz had a great showing around here on Sunday night on the FBR channel in the Sunday Shakedown. Sky Schundelmeyer looking up the inside of Diz though, and look at Overtaker and Patrick Lager just behind. Oh, Schundelmeyer has a little twitch. That slows Overtaker down a little bit, which puts Patrick Lager there. Gary's already off across the gravel. It's Gary there who got a little, I think, hip and shoulder with that of Jamal Clouden, I believe it was. Put him onto the gravel. Not quite sure if it was Jamal. I could be wrong. But Overtaker settles in behind, dropping down the pack once more. We're seeing Dan Davis now just clipping onto the grass a little bit. And he's had to tuck behind that of Michael Harris. And where did Gary rejoin? Around that of Ben, who is at the back of the pack. It is the 46 of Pedro Viana. But a clean start, Phil, from the front of the pack. And it is that of Fraser O'Brien who's got going out front and has already got a decent lead.
He's already got a second and a half lead. So that's a really... Jay's just put Edward snip.
There we go. There's Overtaker now. Sorry, go on, Phil.
That's quite a healthy lead already after the first sector, isn't it? Really,
it is already. Oh, Clouden bounces over the curb as his Mercedes unsettled a little bit as Gary Leach gets past the Mercedes driver to move back up into P9. And here comes Ben attacking up the inside. Lunges! Oh, late on the brakes. He's tapped Gary. And Jamal's had to take avoiding action. Gary hangs it back together and has now dropped to the back of the pack behind Pedro Viana then. But that was Ben a day late and $1 short on the brakes. And that has put him as well now down behind Matt Wright. Here comes Peaceful Explosion. Mike Mathew side by side with him with Jamal and Michael Harris side by side behind them as they come to the famous 130R. Harris backs out of it. Mike up the inside of Jamal, and they're all through squeaky clean as Michael Harris runs a little bit wide there, but that from Ben, day late $1 short, and he's probably going to be paying the price in the steward's room after this one. But out front after lap one, Fraser O'Brien has a commanding lead from Diz, from Schundelmeyer, from Patrick Lager, who's defending now from Overtaker. The Ford Mustang, the grunt coming down the start straight to the outside line of turn one, gives the room to Ledger on the inside. And here comes Patrick back up the inside on Overtaker, who's got to take the longer way around. Still together side by side. Taker backs off now.
He does, yeah, but... Look, we got right through turn one relatively cleanly. I don't believe there was any contact. Sky set the fastest lap on the opening lap. Come on, Sky.
Yeah, he did set the fastest lap. Good pace from him. This is a great battle between Ledger, Overtaker, and that of Machado.
Yeah, as at the moment, Taker needs to get in front if he wants to win this race. Because with O'Brien now 2 seconds up the road from Diz.
Yeah, it's going to provide to be a tricky night for Overtaker. If tricky race one for Overtaker. The longer he stays behind, obviously, in this shorter format, you don't want to be trailing too much. He's got that of Machado, though, looking behind them. Paolo, Darren Yo's 8th, Matt Wright's 9th from Ben and Mike Mathew. Then it's Jamal. Dan's got past Michael Harris, who is now his closest championship rival. Then it's Pedro Viena, that of Gary Leach down at the back of the pack, but Schundelmeyer already attacking the back of Diz. In towards Spoon they go. And it's been a decent start for this race for Schundelmeyer. Obviously not had his best of seasons going into that Porsche, but he's trying to answer some critics here and come back to the forefront of this pro grid. He's just got to make sure he can do so. As down towards 130R, they come for the second time. And already, Phil, Fraser O'Brien's got himself a pretty comfortable lead where he can relax a little bit.
Yeah, as pit window opens in about a minute's time. Oh, I think Overtaker's off on the grass. He is.
He is. Oh, he's well off. He's span around at the chicane. He's going to have to be careful on the rejoin. Manages to merge now as the drivers head to the other side. He's got damage, Phil. So he's hit the wall somewhere. That's him and Ben now going side by side down through the last bend. So Overtaker's got some big damage. And Mr. Suzuka here, well, it's not gone his way so far in this first race. Didn't quite see what happened. We just caught the aftermath of that. But he's now got Mike Matthews having a look on the back of him. Jamal Crowden's coming under pressure from Dan Davis a little bit. And Dan Davis here will be wanting to make sure that he can try and up some pace in this race and up some positions. Obviously, he hasn't got to go too much at the moment because so far he's only going to need to be beating that of Michael Harris in this race, as Mike Matthews is now having a look at the back of Overtaker. Jamal Clouden is with them as well. So already dramas here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the incident in the replay to see what happened.
Oh, great battle behind. Mike's got past Jamal through Dunlop. Dan's gone through Dunlop as well. And Jamal Clouden loses out 2 places through Dunlop and into the Degners. And now Mike, after a good week, is still on the back of Overtake here.
Yeah, Taker had a hell of a run out of 130R. And we was alongside Ledger, and there was a little bit of contact that put Taker into the wall. So that probably been going in as well.
Mike's having a look through 200R then on this of Overtaker. Dan's looking to the outside, and Mike and the 2 SimPlay Racing teammates are now side by side as they come towards Spoon. And now where does Overtaker try to defend, because he's got Dan going up the inside of his teammate of Mike. And Dan, lovely move that, just behind Jamal Clouden. He's being overtaken by Michael Harris, and the Mercedes driver drops down yet another place. But did Mike trying to attack that of Overtaker through 200R has cost him here at Spoon, and that allowed Dan Davis back up the inside. This is Pedro Viana now, who's having a look to try and get past that of Jamal Clouden as Dan's going side by side with Overtaker through 130R. Mike's in Overtaker up the rear through 130R. Michael Harris is off to the Degners once again, and that's going to allow Pedro Viana and Gary through on Harris. But Mike there had such a run over Overtaker. He did tap the back of him, but Dan is through. Overtaker doesn't choose to pit. Mike and Clouden straight in, as is Darren Yo and Ben. Probably a good call from them two. But Mike, Clouden and Gary Leach all into the pits, and it's Fraser O'Brien 3.6 up the road from that of Sky Schundelmeyer, and this is on board with Sky Schundelmeyer through the S's.
Diz is still in front of Sky. He is. So O'Brien from Diz, from Sky, and Ledger's now dropping away. He's about 2 seconds off. He's got Machado for close company. Ben's stop is done. He is. He's kept in front of Yo. I think Yo's jumped Matthews. He has.
Yo was already ahead of Daz, I do believe, and it's Mike who's actually side by side. Harris has jumped Clouden, and Harris is right on the rear of Mike now, so whatever damage Mike may have had, he's possibly repaired in the pit lane. Machado's on the back of Ledger. Schundelmeyer still on the back of that of Diz here at the front. Good return for Diz at the minute, sat in P2.
Yeah, I just watched Gary absolutely loose coming out of turn 1 and turn 2, because it's like a couple of corners together, and so if you look at the map.
Overtaker's falling into the clutches of Machado here, and you just wonder, is that damage hurting then already in that race? But we're still on the Sky Schundelmeyer and Diz fight here. Just behind them is Ledger and Machado. Fraser O'Brien has got this race pretty much in control as we're approaching the halfway stage of the race, and in towards 130R they come now. And here comes Schundelmeyer and that of Diz as they enter towards the chicane. Is Diz maybe going to look for is Diz or Schundelmeyer going to look to maybe undercut the other driver in this pit stop? Schundelmeyer gets a heck of a run through the chicane there, but just gains on the back of Diz. None of them decide to pit. Now Schundelmeyer tries to take a tighter line through the final little bend, goes to the racing line, tucks back behind Diz. Is he going to look for a move up the inside? Patrick Ledger into the pit lane, and Diz to the Schundelmeyer to the outside, but Diz covers that one off. Matt Wright also in. Great fight between these two, Phil.
Yeah, very good fight between the two German marks with BMW and Porsche, but out front it is the Ferrari.
Matt Wright and Pedro Viana, Phil, pitted as well last time round, so still no pit stop for overtaker. Mike Matthews and Harris side by side. Harris going round the outside of 130R. He's gone a little wide, still keeps it in there. I think he did have the two wheels on the curb at the time. Mike's now going to try and go around the outside the first part of the chicane. This is a great fight between the pair of them. Harris doesn't get the run out of the chicane, and this could bring Jamal Cloudin into play. Has a bit of a twitch, just Jamal. Out the pit lane comes a few of the drivers. Pedro Viana, who was behind these three in the train before the pit stops, comes out the pits, but are they going to jump him? Here comes Harris and Matthews, and Viana just in front, who stays in front of them.
But their tyres are going to be a lot warmer than Vienna's, because Vienna's would have lost a little bit of heat in the pit lane.
Yeah, indeed they would have.
It's not a very long pit lane here at Suzuka.
No, it's not a very long pit lane. You only lose 52 seconds, I do believe, around here, so it's one of the shorter ones. Great four-way fight here. Just going back to the Sky and Diz. Sky just fell off a little bit. We'll go back to that Pedro Viana fight. Look, because there's Mike Matthews behind him. As the timing screens will sort themselves out. So as Darren Yo's behind Viana still, but I believe Darren Yo has jumped him. And he has, there we go, look, but he's not ahead of Matt Wright. So Matt Wright jumped Darren Yo in the pit lane then.
Right, does Sky pit now to try to get out the dirty air?
Oh, Harris! Nearly into the back of Matthews. Sorry, Phil. And then Clouden had his own wiggle. So interesting there, and like Phil says, what do the leaders do? Because O'Brien has stayed out on track. Diz is going to carry on, as is Sky, as is Machado. Paolo could be in for a juicy undercut here, but he's going to stay out. Dan Davis gaining on Paolo. An overtaker with that damage, just trying to score some points at the end of this race. But does he box now? He's cost himself a lot of time with that damage, and he carries on. Phil, that's a surprise.
That is a surprise. You want to repair that straight away, because he's losing time. Hand over fist now by staying out.
Yeah. Going as far as he can, surely, in this race before choosing to box. Gary Leach 4 seconds off the back of this train. Pedro jumped out of Mike Matthews, Mike's giving him a flash there, not sure why. But there's a flash or two happening. Ben's got Matt Wright on the back of him. That's 0.8 of a second. Looks possibly a little closer than that. There's Darren Yo in the background, and now it's actually gained to 0.9. And Schundelmeyer's coming here with that of Machado, and he's back onto the rear of Diz. Paolo's there in the background, and you just see Dan Davis coming to shot momentarily. But for Schundelmeyer... sorry, go on.
Dan isn't that far off the back of Paolo. Really
no, he's not.
Easy.
You can just see them there in the background. But for Schundelmeyer here, this is his view into Spoon Corner then, where we can see him at the moment, just losing a bit of time to Diz on the straights. If you look behind, that's where you can see Emmanuel Machado. Good outing from this by Diz and from Schundelmeyer at the moment, though, both sitting on the podium pretty nicely.
They are, yeah, and got to think outside the box now. How do you get... Oh, we've lost someone. We just dropped down to 50.
Gary.
Yeah, oh, don't tell me his internet's just cut out.
I wonder if that's internet problems again for Gary Leach here. We'll see if he can get back in. So Gary Leach's night goes from bad to worst after a decent week last week. Goes from bad to worst. Sky didn't get a great run out the chicane there. And Diz and Sky come into the pits. So Machado carries on his way. And Diz and Sky come into the pit lane. Then Machado stays out, and he's going to get a lap or two to keep going. Paolo must be into the pits as well. I can't see him. Yeah, he is into the pits because there's Dan Davis. What does Overtaker decide to do now? He's now going to box as Ben's dropping Matt Wright a little bit. They're both pulling away from that of Darren Yeo as well. And now Harris is putting that of Mike Matthews under some pressure. They've dropped Jamal Clouden, and Harris once again going to go to the outside here of 130. Oh, bounces on the grass a little bit. He's still bouncing across the grass and backs out of it and tucks behind Mike.
Yeah. Not the rallying line. Does Sky has jumped Diz in the pits.
Gary Leach is back in, and Sky has jumped Diz in the pit lane, so a great stop from Sky Schundelmeyer there. Overtaker still in the pit. Surely he's repairing that damage, because it seems a bit of a long stop for Overtaker, while the rest of the pack are going to come flooding through. Overtaker's done here. He's on his way out the pit lane, but the field are going to come through, and there is Overtaker rejoining to the track, and he didn't repair the damage, Phil. He's kept it as it is, and that is probably going to be a 15th place for Overtaker around here. At least Gary Leach wasn't there to ruin the party. But Fraser O'Brien at Spoon, he's your race leader at the moment. Top 3 still to pit, and they've got to pit this lap really, because they're not going to make it round another.
No, they're not in an F1 car to make it round in about 1 minute 30.
No, because by the time they get to the pit lane, don't forget, it's going to be under a minute, and they're not making that, so they've got to really push now. Ben's up to 7th place now that he's got ahead of Paolo. Darren Yeo as well is now also ahead of Overtaker as they come through the sector time, so Darren Yeo's up to 10th. And here comes Fraser O'Brien. He's got to pit this time around, otherwise that would be a monumental error from the leader, and he is coming into the pit lane.
No, Macchiato, he's got a pit now as well.
Yeah, in he comes. And Dan Davis has got to pit as well. Going on, we normally see Dan Davis do an undercut when he's in the traffic, but he's gone longer today, and that could be an interesting strategy. Now Sky and Ledger both jump Diz. Diz is now under pressure from Ben, so it's going to be interesting to see, Phil, where Sky's going to come out in relation to the race leader and to that of Emmanuel Machado then, and Dan Davis, who was running just behind Sky and Machado before the pit stops. They're not yet done on their time, so Fraser O'Brien is now finished his stop. Machado is now finished his stop. Dan Davis hasn't yet. O'Brien is out the pit lane. Machado coming out the pit lane now. Dan Davis goes green as the field come round now. Machado is off the limiter, and out he comes, and as Machado's extra lap of clean air done him the jump over Shai Schundelmeyer, it has indeed. And now where does Dan Davis come out off the limiter? Just in behind that of Matt Wright, but ahead of Paolo then, and Gary Leach as well is just coming out the pits as Ben now trying to attack the back of Diz, but Machado there jumped Diz and Ledger and Sky Schundelmeyer.
What an overcut by Machado. Hell of an overcut.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant overcut there for Machado, and that's going to help them, because the Naval Racing Team need to score big over Team SPR tonight to get back that 3rd spot in the Constructors' Championship. With Gary getting disconnected in that first race, that's going to give Gary just the 16 points at the moment. Down the order to Paolo, he's close to the back of Dan, but Dan's going to have some pace here. Mike Matthews 11th with Harris 12th. Vienna's got Clouden for company. Overtakers still at the back at the moment as Gary is 2 laps down then. But a battle for 3rd place. Sky trying to get onto the back of Machado here with just under 4 minutes left in this race, Phil. And this is probably this one. It's 2 more after this, should I say, and then that's probably the end of the first race. But what an entertaining first race it's been, and it looks like positions changing more in the pits.
Yeah, and well, Sky got in front of one BMW in the pit stop to only come out behind another one.
Yeah, indeed he did. Ledger jumped Diz as well then. Now we got Diz, who's trying to defend from Ben and Matt Wright, and Dan Davis not a million miles away with Paolo close. And yes, there's Gary Leach in the background, but he is 2 laps down on the leaders due to the disconnection he had.
Yeah, that looked like his internet again.
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, it must have been. Down through the final bend now. This is on board with Ben inside the Aston Martin.
The Aston Martin today.
Nice, cool character is Ben as well, isn't he? He's done really well this season. He seems to have found a bit of form towards the back end of the season.
He has, yeah. I'm surprised Chris didn't check yet.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get to hear from Chris. Overtaker's back into the pit lane then. So Gary, I think he's I don't know what lap Gary's on. I don't know if you can go to the timetable and see what lap Gary's on, but overtaker's not yet started his 8th. So this could help Gary out, just gain on him.
6.
So no, it's probably not. As overtaker crosses the line now to start that 8th lap. Gary's only on his 6th lap. But Ben at the moment doing the business. And we'll want to close that gap to Diz. Matt Wright trying to hang on in there from Dan Davis, who started to put him under pressure. Harris still trying to put Mike Matthews under pressure. Mike is now chasing down Darren Yeo. They both got past Vienna at some point. Clouden is close to the back of Pedro Vienna. Patrick Ledger's all of a sudden got into the back of Sky Schundelmeyer. That gap's 1.1 seconds. And Schundelmeyer's dropped off the back of Machado a bit.
Yes, yeah, maybe settling for the 3rd. Not going to risk a car. Or, well, they're all dropping behind O'Brien. O'Brien's now nearly 9 seconds up the road. Dominant race for O'Brien, to be fair. Really good race from him. Yeah. Yeah, or maybe if a BMW is coming alive now at this phase of the race.
Well, let's see what's going to happen. I think it's too late for Machado. The leader crosses the line to start the final lap. Overtaker is still in the pit lane, and he's just got himself a stop-go penalty. And the problem is, leader's on the final laps. That's just going to be a time penalty, which I don't think is going to matter too much because Gary's a lap down. Good evening to Alpin in the chat. The Bathurst winner from the 4-hour endurance race at Bathurst. But Patrick Ledger at the moment on the back of Sky Schundelmeyer. Ben's as close as he's been to Diz. Matt Wright, Dan Davis in the background as well. Michael Harris on the outside of Mike Matthews through turn 1, and Harris has to get out of that. He was on the outside line. It was never going to work. And Jamal Clouden having a look as well, and Tracy saying, come on, Sky, just hold on. I think he's pretty comfortable at the minute, Phil. He doesn't look, Ledger's there, but he's not under, he's not putting Sky under any pressure at the moment.
No, it's manageable for Sky at the moment, isn't it? And then he could have another Corsa turkey in the break.
Oh, yes. Be straight on the turkey at the break for Thanksgiving. Hopefully you've had a great Thanksgiving, Tracy. And what a result this will be for Sky. Not had the best of seasons in that Porsche. His teammate Ben now is putting pressure onto the back of that of Diz. He's got Matt Wright and Dan Davis right up the trumpets here. Where are we? Spoon. Yeah, he's just come out of Spoon. We're going to just chop and change between a few of these fights. Sky's got that more under control than I think what Diz and Ben have got, and Matt Wright's probably got. Just drop back to Harris and Mike Matthews. Mike's defending for his life against Michael Harris in the battle of the mics. But we are going to go back to Fraser O'Brien. He enters into the final chicane now, and the Welshman. What a fantastic drive. Race win and a fastest lap. He takes the first win of the night. His first win here at SimPlay Motorsport. It's another new winner. It's another Ferrari. It's Fraser O'Brien who takes the checkered flag in great style. Machado's going to come across the line here to take second place in a great drive from him. Sky Schundelmeyer, fantastic stuff to come across the line, P3. Patrick Ledger, P4. Diz will hang on to 5th from Ben, Matt Wright, and then Dan Davis. Paolo comes across for P9. Darren Yeo and Gary Leach, the two teammates, come across for P10, and Gary a lap down. Michael Harris got Mike Matthews for P11 and 12. Pedro Vieira beat Jamal Clouden. Overtaker stayed 15th, and Gary Leach in 16th place. But we'll be right back in a few moments' time with the second race and the first qualifying. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to SimPlay Motorsport here for the second race of the evening. It is qualifying time though here, and what a championship battle this is turning out to be. SimPlay Racing are 244 points clear in that Constructors' Championship. I don't think can win it tonight. In fact, no, they definitely can't win it tonight, but it is going to be one heck of a gap for the Red Line Junkies to close in on, as Overtaker here looking to make a move on Ben. In fact, does make a move on Ben, and that will put Overtaker then to be the lead car on a flying lap here at Suzuka. Red Line Junkies are second. The Naval Racing Team move up into third ahead of Team SPR. BSP Racing are P5. Team FBR P6. Fat Blokes Bandits are 7th with the BSP Sports 8th. Xbox Industries Racing are 9th. Dan Seb Racing are 10th, and the Greasy Bandits, who cannot win it, are P11. Diz has left the lobby. We're hoping to get Diz back in. Dan Davis, who leads the Drivers' Championship, 185 points clear of Michael Harris. Skunky is in third. Mike Matthews up to fourth place with Kieran O'Reilly in fifth. Matt Wright is P6 from Ian McGowan, 7th. Emmanuel Machado, P8 from Ben, P9. Pedro Viena, P10 with Jamal Clouden in 11th. Darren Yeo jumps ahead of Gary Leach for 12th and 13th, before Paolo 14th and Overtaker 15th. Patrick Ledger is 16th from Rasmussen Schundelmeyer. Ed Blackmore, Michael Eckholt, Max Mulder, Sebastian Witchrup, Diz, Fraser O'Brien, Tim Ventink, Daniel Cosme Beasley, Alex Stardog Barclaw and Max Vercreshen. Phil, great first race here tonight. At the minute, no Diz so far for this second race, but Overtaker wanting to get a hurry on in this qualifying session and get a move on.
Yeah, he's after an interesting first race for him, to say the least. He wants to bounce back and get some points back on the board. But good drive by Sky, brilliant overcut by Machado to come P2.
Yeah, really good.
I believe at 46, that's Sienna, he's off in Degner 2.
So he's off in Degner 2. We're just going to see who's going to get pole then in this qualifying session. It's going to be crucial to get a good qualifying run around here, isn't it?
Oh yeah. It's a driver's circuit, though some don't like it as much as others. But yeah, it's still quite narrow. Suzuka is really.
Very narrow and very tricky to get right. Overtake then into 130R. So far, the king still of this circuit. The next best driver around this circuit is that of Andy, back in the Project Cars 2 days of 2 wins and 2 poles around here. The next 2 to get close to that, or next 3 to get close to that, really is actually there's 5 drivers close to that on 2 and 1. But here comes Overtaker to set the pace in this first flying lap. What's the lap time going to be? The benchmarking qualifying so far. Invalidated lap from Overtaker, so he doesn't set anything. What about Ben? Ben also doesn't set a lap time. What about P. Leisure then? He's coming towards the line. He doesn't set a time either. I tell you what, the 35 of Darren Yeo is the first car that's not got a blue dot, so let's see if that driver can put a lap time on the board. It is Darren Yeo, and for a brief period, Darren Yeo tops the timing screen. What about Dan Davis? What can he do as he comes towards the check at the line? The last time he was on pole here was race 2. Like a few seasons ago. He goes provisional pole. What about Paolo's the next dot, who's on a valid lap time? Let's see what he can do around this circuit. Good evening to Ian Thompson as well in the chat. Tracy's got the meat in the oven. Beautiful as Paolo goes into P3.
All this talk of turkey is making me really hungry. Really hungry.
Yeah.
I fancy some roast turkey.
See a Christmas dinner. It's my favourite meal of the year, just in all.
Pigs and blankets?
Everything. When you're having a Christmas dinner, I'm talking the whole shebang. Pigs in blankets, everything.
I don't
Brussels.
Have potatoes
no. Gotta have it all. Gotta have it all.
Yes.
Gotta have it all.
I've got to find out if I could have any alcohol though.
On a value. I'm sure you have to have a small drop. Fraser O'Brien, Sky Schundelmeyer are on qualifying bans, so they'll be going from the back of the pack. Jamal Clouden also in the pits. Gary Leach now. At 2 minutes a lap, Phil, you want to get on with laps here, and nobody's really got a valid lap time on the board, have they? Board the top 3 at the moment. Gary Leach, the next one on a valid lap, and will be sat for a moment, P4.
Yeah, you think it's a longer lap, other than an Nürburgring, the Nordschleife, but we don't do the season races at Nordschleife because that's just silly. Is Spa, because that's what 2 minutes. 2.5 minutes, isn't it, for a lap of Spa?
2:20, just under 2:20. Overtaker to the line. There we go. Tops the timing screen. As we expected, into the 59.5s in that Ford Mustang. Here comes Ben to the line. Doesn't set a lap time at the moment. Got to be Brussels sprouts, Rob Smith. That is a big yes. A big thumbs up on the Brussels sprouts for Christmas. Machado now goes into second place. That BMW looks pretty decent around here. What can Darren Yeo do then? Can he get closer to the pole times? No, he can't. No improvement there. Dan Davis, is he going to find 0.8 of a second from somewhere? Still with time to go. No, he doesn't, and bails on his next lap. Pedro Viana is next towards the line before the 81 of Paolo, and Viana doesn't set a lap time. Quite a few invalidated laps around here already, Phil, and this now is becoming a problem. We're nearly halfway through the session. As Paolo moves up to P4, apologies.
It's probably running out wide up through 130R.
You know where else? Running a little wide at the first Degner before the second Degner. That's also another spot.
Yeah, and it's probably just gone a little too wide through the either the Degners or 130.
Michael Harris moves up the order into P4. Here comes Matt Wright for the Xbox Industries Racing, the XIR GT team. No lap time for him there. Mike Matthews is next, but it says he's on an invalid lap. He'll be wanting to get a good lap time on the board, won't he?
He will be, yeah. Because where is he at the moment? Still no Diz back. And qualifying's marching on right now.
Yeah, still no Diz. Hopefully all is okay there, and that Diz is going to get back in. Mike now moves up into P4. Gary Leach next towards the line. So let's see what Gary Leach can do then throughout this lap. Going to be an interesting qualifying session for Gary here. He obviously wants to bounce back. He had decent pace. Got above his teammate. Couple of tenths off the back of Paolo. Next car is the 36 of Jamal Cloud. I believe this is an outlap from him before we get the 140 of Ben, who's going to try and get a lap time in. Now the 34 of Harris returns to the pit lane. Here comes Ben then on his flyer to the line. Goes P4 at the minute, so good lap time from Ben. Gets within a second. Patrick Ledger to the line. He now goes P4. What about that of Machado? 6 tenths off the pole. Stays 6 tenths off the pole. Next up is Darren Yeo. Before we get to check the 46 of Pedro Viana. Here comes Darren Yeo. Find any more time? Not that time around. He can't. What about Pedro Viana? No lap time on the board for him as of yet. And down towards the line he comes. What can Pedro Viana do in this one? Only up into P10. A little lackluster from the BMW.
Yeah, and O'Brien and Sky on quality bands.
They are, yes.
But yeah, because they both retired last week at Valencia, didn't they?
No, O'Brien I think was I think both was penalty points actually. I think it was only Skunky and McGowan who retired, but McGowan had
to go somewhere
airport
quick.
Run to do because the flight had come in earlier than expected. And Skunky did just retire. Mike Matthews next to the line though. This needs to be an interesting lap. Needs 3 tenths to just get himself possibly up into P4. If he finds 4 tenths, he could find himself ahead of his teammate Dan Davis around this circuit, Phil. And Mike down out the final bends now. Towards the line he comes. Doesn't find anything this time around. A pretty quiet qualifying with only 15 cars out there. In fact, with only 13 cars out there.
13. Jamal's yet to set a lap, but he's now round in the Casio chicane.
Oh, Gary Leach, that's a heck of an improvement for him. Moves up to P6. Good lap for Gary Leach here. What about Jamal Clouden? Like Phil says, yet the only one to yet set a lap time. Towards the line he comes now. Only P13. That is not what I expected.
I think he'd be glad to see the back of that Merc, wouldn't he?
I agree. Not gelled with it, has he?
No, but at least he's tried a different car.
Yeah, yeah. I think if there was anybody I'd wanted to see stay in the same car, it would have been Jamal in that McLaren to give Dan a real title push. Darren Yeo, no improvement there. What about Michael Harris in his Lexus just behind? Any improvement for him? No, there's not. Dan Davis next to the line. Patrick Ledger and Ben within a tenth of him. Gary's in the pits, as is Machado. Here comes Dan Davis. Can't use the legs properly of the Lexus today. Can't get it into 6th gear for long enough. Needs a good time in 6th gear to really stretch its legs. Coach will definitely be able to. And Dan Davis now rounds the final corner Down towards the line he comes, just under 4 minutes left on the clock. Dan Davis finds an improvement. Oh! Goes within 200ths of a second. Phil, watch your ears, because there could be some shouting tonight.
Yeah, and take us out on track as well. Question is that pole time quicker than Ellie last night in promo? Is that quicker?
I think so, yes. I think it was. I think Ellie was a 59.7.
But either way, that's still close. So here we go. Battle of pole between Dan and Overtaker again. Maybe Macchiato.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting fight now between the pair of them. As we're just seeing who's coming towards the end of a lap. That is the 998 of Ledger. Watch your ears, Phil. It could get loud in about 3 minutes' time.
And everyone in the stream who are headphone users right now as well. Yeah, about to go deaf. What?
Patrick Ledger. Patrick Ledger to the line. Should have let Ellie race tonight after yesterday. Yeah, to be fair, she'd have been in pro if she'd have done a hot stint. Right, Ledger improved, stays P5. Mike's already moved up to 4th. The 35 of Darren Yo's next. Set his first time and hasn't really improved since that first lap. And here comes Darren Yo now towards the line. Can he improve this time around? Darren Yo to the line. No improvement this time. What about Michael Harris? 1.5 down. Finds time to go up to P4. Next to the line is the 46 of Pedro Viena. Is Darren Yo done, or is he going for one final quick run? He's going to have to be fast. Viena, no improvement. Machado, his teammate, 0.6 off the pole. Where's Taker? He's just crossing the line now for another run. Machado doesn't get any more time on the board. Dan Davis invalidated this one. He's got time for one more. So hold on to your hats, folks. This is where it could get juicy. Mike Matthews is coming round towards 130 or now. He's the next man on a lap. How juicy could this be, though, Phil?
Very, very juicy. I believe I'm on most successful for this one. I'm on pole position.
You are, yeah. You're on pole position, I believe, from Suzuka. F2. Oh, no, this is only GTs. I never actually did. I'll have to go back through the thing and do most successful for F1. As Mike stays where he is, 135. But you did have that pole in F2, wasn't it, around here?
Yeah. Everyone else invalidated, didn't they?
Matt Wright, because it was one shot quali, wasn't it? Yeah.
I love the one shot quali.
It was brilliant. It was really good. I did enjoy that.
Mixed the grid up as well, because if you messed it up.
Yeah, it did. Danic's got a pole and a win around here. Your title rival.
These are pretty quick.
So drivers coming... Oh, Ledger's gone P5 now ahead of Mike. So drivers coming to the end of their runs, just getting final laps in. Michael Harris, possibly Ben, will be the final lap. Now, it's saying overtakes on an invalid lap, but I don't see why he'd still be going out there. If that was the case, I was just thinking the same thing. Out of my league. Harris moves up to P3. Great lap from him. He'll get one more in. What about Ben? This will be close for Ben. Yeah.
With 420.
So Taker's pitted. Taker's done. Ben is going to get one more run in. And Ben goes up to P4. Right, who's next? Machado. 0.6 off the pole. Overtaker's in the pit lane. What does Machado do? He'll be the first man to finish qualifying. Ben is also done. Machado to the line. He stays P5. What about Davis? Comes to the line now. Headsets off. Dan Davis. Pole position. He's done it again. 2 times at Suzuka in a row. Dan Davis takes pole position. He gave us a flash of the lights. The Lexus has done it. An overtaker returned to the pits at the very end, and Dan Davis takes pole.
Yep, the headset came off.
One car left on a lap. That is Michael Harris, who could change this here, though.
Oh, wait, I might have to come off again.
What a lap time from Dan Davis. He did it at the end before. He's done it at the end again now. He is the master of putting it on pole at the very end of qualifying.
And he knew as well, he was flashing the lights already, wasn't he?
He could have been throwing us off. He could have been throwing us off. That is fantastic from Dan Davis there. Again, really, really good from him.
Yep. What does Harris do?
Just waiting to find out now what Harris will do. What a qualifying session from Dan. Michael Harris now, though, rounds the final corner and pits. Pits there then. So overtaker on the front row, but once again, pipped to the pole by Dan Davis in fantastic style. Michael Harris, great P3 with a Ben on P4. That's fantastic qualifying by them too.
It is, yeah, that's really good. Is Ben starting to gel with the Aston, or is it the Aston starting to come to favour tracks?
Micro J's asking you how the years are. Rob Smith, but the Lexus is rubbish here. Yeah, so we're told. And Tracy saying, great job, Dan, in the chat.
Well, he is. Well, I took my headset off, Jay. So
He was ready for that one.
I was ready.
He was ready for that one. But Dan's got the job to do now in the hour-long race. Overtaker is no slouch.
Nope.
What that does do, though, Phil, is that gives Dan 3 poles and a win around here. It makes him now more successful, as successful as Andy, with 4 accomplishments to his name around this circuit. And this race is Paolo's 50th race start. So there we go.
Another milestone.
Another message for you on the chat tonight. That pole position, exactly. The race win there for the Ferrari in race 1 by O'Brien is the 37th race win for Ferrari. The pole there from Lexus is its 9th pole position. It's now 2 poles behind Bentley with 3 qualifying sessions left to go. That's probably doable unless someone can stop Dan in this qualifying sessions at the moment. And Dan's only not got pole in 2 races, can we just point out?
Ferrari will just miss out on 50 if they win both races in Pro-Am and Pro.
Yeah, what's left? 6, 12, yeah?
Just by 1 race.
No. If Ferrari win here, and then there's 6 Pro-Am, 6 Pro, they'll be on 38 race wins. So if Ferrari win this one, Ferrari's got to win every race of the season.
Yeah.
From here on in.
And we know how quick O'Brien can actually be, because... okay. Yeah, O'Brien's pretty quick, and now with Ellie in a Ferrari and Pro-Am. Where did that come from? Maybe she just don't like Catalunya.
I've just been passed my phone here by my partner, and her dad texted saying Max for the championship. He's on about Max Verstappen. Chris, if you're watching, I thought we was friends, and we all should be cheering for Lando Norris. I don't know if Chris is watching. If he is, just send him the link. Tell him to search it on YouTube, and tell him I've got a bone to pick with him next time I speak with him. Tell him I've mentioned it on stream, please, if you won't mind. Max Verstappen for the championship. Now, hey, congratulations to Max Verstappen for the championship. Got to be careful.
He had to work for this one, did he?
He did. Yeah, he didn't have it all his own way. But we need to forget about the F1. There's a championship happening right in front of us, and it is Dan Davis and Overtaker. 2 old rivals, 2 old foes who have gone at it for so many seasons now, Phil. Dan Davis, 311th race start. Overtaker is on to his 145th race start in this one. Huge rivalry that these two have had for seasons. This is going to be. This is a front row that we always get excited to see.
Yeah, and they go in and out of each other at the moment. That doesn't look particularly very good, does it, on the broadcast?
No, I don't. To be fair, in warming up, I don't care, because I know that sometimes it's better to warm the brakes up. Yeah, tap each other and both end up on the start line. Yeah.
You don't get a warm-up lap.
Sky Schundelmeyer, by the way, that podium in race 1, that was his 44th podium, so he's 6 podiums away from the milestone of 50. So, if we see him back in the GT4s, and maybe some more good races in the Porsche, can possibly get himself closer to that milestone there.
Yeah,
Overtaker as well, by the way. Here's one to point out. If he wins this, he'll be 2 wins behind Jamie Brazier who is still sat 4th on the all-time wins list at SimPlay Motorsport. That is bonkers. But what that goes to show is how many, bar Dan and myself, who are above Jamie, it goes to show how many different winners below Jamie we've been having recently who are slowly catching Jamie up.
Yeah, it does, definitely. Yeah, well, that was whenever you see Jamie in the chat, you know, you say his name, he may appear. But he's not Joe Hendry.
I like what you did there. I like what you did.
Sometimes
there.
He does actually, you know, he's done it a few times.
Yeah, he does just pop up when we've been mentioning him. Oh, actually, I haven't done. That's the race 1 poll. I'm just going to do a quick race 2 poll.
This one's not a bit tough. Who's going to win this right? And then if O'Brien can keep it clean, he's got a chance, even in 14th. But will it be Mr. Suzuka from tied second Suzuka with Andy? But don't know what's going on with Motor at the moment.
It's gone a bit quiet there. Right, they come out the final chicane. We just go breathe again. Headset can stay on.
Yeah, for now. Dad saying I know what BN feels, man.
He did last night. Hey, he did last night when Ellie took pole. That was a cracking lap. Right, here we go. Down towards turn 1, towards the start line for round 18 of the season. Next week will be 19 and 20 at the Circuit of the Americas before a double British header at Alton Park and Donington Park to round out the season. But for round 18 of the championship, we're green and go here at Suzuka, and it looks like it's a pretty even start between the front two. Michael Harris gets away better than Ben on the second row of the grid. Manuel Machado comes side by side with Ben, and Dan leads into turn 1. They tap already, and Overtaker a little wider than Dan, and they made a bit of contact. That's allowed Harris through. Dan has a little wiggle, and Harris has already got the jump on Overtaker. Taker's trying to come back on Michael Harris. They're now side by side through the S's. Here comes Harris once again, still fighting hard, and Harris now gets in front of Overtaker, and Overtaker's coming under some pressure from Machado, jumping down to Gary Leach, who's looking up the inside of Mike Matthews through the S's. They get perilously close to each other. Incidents in the background, the 4-5-4 of Fraser O'Brien and that of Pedro Viana. It looks like who's had a moment. Up through Dunlop now comes Mike Matthews and Gary Leach, still side by side together. Into the Degners, Gary early on the brakes. Mike well off onto the gravel. That's going to cost him all momentum. Does he lose out to my right? No, he drops the rear on his own.
And then got tapped by Wright, and then tapped by Paolo.
Mike Matthews there lost it all on his own, and what a shame for him down the back end of the field, though Fraser O'Brien probably won't believe his luck by the time he comes back round the corner. And Pedro Viana here then, but Dan Davis leads from Michael Harris, Overtaker, Emmanuel Machado, Ben from Ledger, with then that of Gary Leach in 7th place. And as they come towards the Sector 2 timing screens, Overtaker there, him and Dan had a little clip at turn 1, Phil, and that's pushed him out wide and allowed Harris to get up the inside.
Yeah, well, they were side by side through the S's, weren't they? But then Harris got the inside line for Dunlop, didn't he? So that was it. and now can the Mustang keep up with, even though the Lexus hasn't quite got a long enough straight here for its hyperdrive.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what will happen. Gary Leach on the back of Patrick Ledger, and it's Jamal Clouden and Darren Yo, Sky Schundelmeyer, Mike Matthews, who's gone deep now at the chicane, Paolo O'Brien, Matt Wright, Vienna down the back of the pack. Closest battle is Adam Machado on the back of Overtaker here. Let's not count out his BMW. It looked a good car last night. Looks a pretty good car around here again tonight compared to what we saw it in that Valencia circuit. And Taker there, very loosey-goosey on the rear. And Mr. Suzuka in that Mustang getting a bit tail happy through turn 1. Up through the SSA climb now. This is on board with Emmanuel Machado then. Just seeing how close he can get back to that big bulky Mustang.
Yeah, well, all the power went into the rear wheels to take them then. Remember, those in chat, Overtaker is a pad user.
He is a pad user indeed, and hats off to him for driving on a pad. I don't know how he does it so quickly and so well. As through the Degners, there you go, Machado now trying to get onto the rear, but Ledger's putting Ben under some pressure a little further back. There is Patrick Ledger, just dropping ahead of Gary a small amount is Patrick Ledger. Gary not too bad around here, but kind of needs the weather to fall for him. It's bone dry, and it stays bone dry all day. That is going to be the weather. Kota next week looks very, very fruity. And for Darren Yeo at the minute, he's coming under some pressure from Schundelmeyer, who started last, let's not forget, with that qualifying ban. He's wanting to make some time up already.
He is, and he's probably just avoided all the incidents that have befell some of the others. But then there's only 15 cars out there, so yeah.
Mad to think as well, by the way, that 15 cars is all, 16 cars is all you could have for Project Cars 2, and here we are with a 15-car grid. You know, nowadays we think it's a small grid.
Yeah, well, most games were limited on PS4, weren't they? So how many
exactly.
could have.
Overtaken now, coming down the start straight, trying to stay within that second of Harris. And it's Machado, Ben P5 with Patrick Ledger. Gary getting a bit closer to Patrick Ledger again. And look at Schundelmeyer and Yeo in the background. BSP versus Team SPR at the moment. Down the start straight they come. Schundelmeyer in the slipstream. Yeo trying to stick to the back of Clouden and in towards turn one. Nobody close enough at the moment, but Patrick Ledger it's kind of ebbing and flowing between himself and Gary, isn't he? Because one minute he's on the back of Ben, the next minute he's on the front of Gary.
Yeah, and Clouden's hanging on in P8 at the moment from Daz Tibbs, and then there's a good gap till Mike. Mike's all on his own at the moment.
Yeah, he's on his own. Obviously, that damage behind two others, you know, is possibly helped him, but dropped it all on his own through the Degners. Went in too hot to try and outbrake Gary, and just got out of shape, didn't he?
Yeah. Meanwhile, Vienna's all over the back of Wright, and Wright was Mike couldn't go anywhere really. We had to hold where he was, and poor Wright had nowhere to go, and then he got love tapped by Paolo, so
tricky situation in this one. We're 6 minutes in, Phil. Dan's only pulled a second and a half already. Taker's trying to stick within that 7/10 of a second, but look at Machado. He's got a bit closer to overtaker as that BMW driver now, and looking pretty racy.
Yeah, but see with the slipstream heading towards 130R, and who's braver on the brakes into the Casio chicane?
I think that Mustang's just pulled a little bit on the straight down this back part in towards the Casio chicane, and Machado gains though under the brake. Look how close he got there, Phil, under the brakes towards the Casio triangle, I believe it's called. And absolutely great from Machado here to keep the pressure on. Ledger and Ben in the background are having a bit of a scrap as well. As then you see Jamal and Darren Yeo appear. And then just dropping back to Schundelmeyer. Schundelmeyer on board with him at the moment. He's still on the back of Darren Yeo. Not close enough at the minute going into turn one. We know that Porsche lacks a bit in a straight line, and that's probably where Darren's able to just pull away. Every time Sky seems to get close to the back of him, Darren Yeo comes up to a straight where he can just stretch his legs a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the Ferrari's more stable as well than the Porsche, even through the corners. If someone can hit the Porsche hooked up, the Porsche is a really good car.
Very good car, yeah. Very good car. You see it a lot on other championships, on Assetto Corsa Competizione. This is on board with Sky Schundelmeyer. We will keep our eyes on that, but these three are all within 0.8 of a second. Taker's 40 kind of sat perfectly in the middle of Harris and Machado then. And they're not squabbling too much, they're just following each other. And this is why Ben's not gaining on them quickly here, isn't it? Because at the moment, they're not fighting hard. They're just kind of following the leader and just judging where each other are quicker or slower.
Yeah, and now through 200R, you can see Harris pull away a little bit into Spoon. Oh, Taker had another wiggle behind him. There was a slight wiggle from Taker's Mustang.
Yeah, kind of must be wanting it a bit loose on the rear. It's down towards 130R they come again. Let's just go back to that of Schundelmeyer and Darren Yeo. Sky on the back of Darren Yeo here. Back on board with the Porsche driver. He's a lot closer to Darren Yeo this time around. What's going to happen going into 130R? Just down a gear there. Darren, I think, had a bit more of a lift and a brake than Sky Schundelmeyer. Hard onto the brakes into the chicane. Darren Yeo comes out the chicane and moves on his merry way. And this is where we're going to just see that Ferrari. Look, just how it's got the power down. Just watch that Ferrari just creep a little further away from Schundelmeyer. Although Schundelmeyer is closer this time around, he's not lost as much time already.
No, I think Mike's gained slightly on them two battling.
Well, so 3.7, so we'll keep our eyes on that. Vienna's trying to get close to Matt Wright, but Overtaker still, look, just gets under 4 tenths to Michael Harris. And as we go on board him, he's now got Machado right up his rear wing. So ebbing and flowing in this battle as well.
It is, yeah. I would love to see Overtaker back in his Bentley. I really would.
Yeah, same. I completely agree. And I think it'd be fantastic to see Overtaker back in that Bentley that he drove in the PS4 days, where he was pretty decent in it as well. Put the pressure on that of the Ripper.
Yeah, Ripper and the Audi.
And he's just coming under pressure a little bit more. Back down to Darren Yeo and Sky Schundelmeyer. Yeo's letting Clouden just get away a little bit, and Mike's definitely close. Half a second this lap already, Phil.
Yeah, so I think that's what's happening, because Daz is defending a little from Sky. Sky can't get past, and they're holding each other up.
Yeah, and obviously while Mike's not battling anybody, unlike the Ben and Patrick fight, where they're not really catching Overtaker and Machado because they're having a squabble, Mike's not squabbling with anybody and can just reel in these two as well. We'll see through Sector 2. Look at Tibbs right on the back of Darren Yeo, pushing him pretty much through the 130R area. Bit wide from Schundelmeyer there. Mike gets the gap down another 2 tenths.
That might have been warning.
Through the Casio triangle. Good evening to Chris in the chat. As Overtaker, no, sorry, Harris is still second. Taker still pretty close to Harris. Machado's just dropped off the back a little bit.
You've got a long way until the pit window opens, yeah, but you will start thinking, can I get the undercut? Or...
Well, the thing with this one as well, Phil, unlike last night where it was a little bit cooler, tyres are going to be an interesting talking point. Fraser O'Brien loses the rear into turn 1 and round he goes. And that is him round and down to the back of the pack. What a shame for him. But the tyres tonight, Phil, is going to be an interesting talking point.
That's going to hurt O'Brien's tyres, but having a car facing the other way, because that would take the surface off, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But with it being warm, what is it, 27 degrees track temp, this could sort of possibly benefit a tyre change, because it is a circuit that is pretty demanding on tyres, as Schundelmeyer now right up the rear. In fact, pulls out, he'll be on the inside for the little right-hand kink. Darren Yeo holds it strong around the outside of the kink, gets it stopped on the apex. Yes, he does. Has to make Schundelmeyer just be patient on acceleration, and Darren Yeo stays in front for now. Back to that Overtaker fight. He's once again still up the rear wing of Harris, but Machado's pulled the gap in. We're going to go back to Schundelmeyer and Darren Yeo in towards Spoon. Does Tibbs think of a send-it manoeuvre? No, he does not. In towards Spoon they come. And Gary Leach told us on Tuesday to not watch him through Spoon on Thursday night. We've actually not seen Gary through Spoon tonight. So next lap, we'll make sure to keep our eyes on Gary in towards Spoon. Now, I've just seen a car look a little laggy, and I believe it is the 46 of Pedro Viana. It wasn't the 46. I think it is. No, I think it is. Because, yes, it is the 46 of Viana. Is lagging like mad. It won't even let me press on him. So we'll hopefully come away.
Keep putting him in the pit lane and back out. It does.
So let's wait and see. Tyres were going blue down the straight towards 130R last night, says Rob Smith. So that shows how cold it was last night. Tonight, though, is a lot warmer. It is 8 degrees hotter than last night. So this could be interesting. Darren Yeo and Schundelmeyer still together. Taker has got to pass to Harris. So Overtaker has passed Harris at some point, and Harris has now got Machado on the back of him. And now Overtaker can hunt after Dan Davis.
He can, yeah, but now Dan's probably seen that. Dan will start pushing a lot harder as well.
Depends, because Dan's been able to obviously look after them tyres that little bit more, hasn't he? And been able to, been able to just bring them in to do what he needs to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, at the moment, and obviously that's going to negate you a bit of time on the pit stops.
But Tiger was defending a little into the hairpin.
Let me load up my graphic that I have for the pit stops here then. In which I'll be able to tell you what it is for a tyre change or just for the 1 litre. So for 1 litre of fuel will cost you 35 seconds. The tyre change will cost you 62 seconds in the pit stop. So a 27-second swing, but you know, that's going to be interesting in terms of who will take it, because if you change them tyres and run that fresher rubber, can you gain them 27 seconds back? Taker needs to now get as close as he can to Dan, maybe in case a tyre change is possible.
Yeah, but if you're not thinking about changing tyres, you've got to look after him as well.
And this is where Dan sat in the box seat at the moment. Darren Yeo and Sky Schundelmeyer are still going at it. Mike Matthews gaining on the back of these two. And Darren Yeo might thank Mike getting on the back here, because if Mike puts pressure on Schundelmeyer, that might allow Darren Yeo to just pull away a bit. But great defensive drive from Darren Yeo, great offensive drive from Schundelmeyer here. They've had a bit of a battle with each other, but nothing too serious. Great driving from the pair of them.
Yeah, it's been very good driving from the pair of them as they head into turn 1.
We missed Gary through spoon again.
Yeah, I was thinking that. We didn't check Gary through spoon. Let's do our every lap check Gary through spoon. He's gonna hate us.
Schundelmeyer here pushing Darren Yeo pretty much through the S's. He's very close to that of Mr. Yeo. Fun fact about Mr. Yeo, I found out the other day, he is the Wales under-15 record holder for the triple jump. Still holds the record to this day. Found out the other day about Mr. Yeo. There's a yellow flag for Pedro Vienna down in 14th place. That's tumbled him down the standings a bit. So he's a triple jump Welsh record holder and holds the Welsh record for it at under 15 level. So well done to Darren Yeo, who's now coming through to 200 odd. So Gary Leach is approaching spoon. Yep. And here we go. Let's take a look at Gary Leach. I don't know what the problem is. That's pretty nice, pretty tidy through there. We'll monitor the next lap and see if it's any better. No, we didn't miss much, to be fair, Chris. It's been a pretty quiet night. Good battles happening, but pretty quiet elsewhere. Harris is just slowly dropping off the back of Overtaker. Overtaker slowly creeping onto Dan as well. This is the closest fight on circuit at the moment. Schundelmeyer into 130. Oh, let's see him on the back of Darren Yeo. This is on board with Schundelmeyer. Bit of a bigger lift for Tibbs that time around. And he's just a little further back from Darren Yeo this lap. Darren Yeo looks like he's got a bit closer to Clouden this lap as well, Phil. And if we look back, there's Mike Matthews, who is approaching on the back of Schundelmeyer then. So pretty good at the moment. Overtaker's got that gap down to 2.3, but while ever he's been sat in that dirty air, that's hurt his tyres. While ever he's pushing on, it's going to hurt his. We possibly see a tyre change maybe on the Mustang. Let's wait and find out. But this is the closest fight on track at the minute. And Yeo and Schundelmeyer, they've been going at it for laps.
Been at the start of the race there, yeah, but so, and that was 17 minutes ago now. Quick 17 minutes ago.
As through the S as they come, Overtakers took another 0.3 out of Dan in the first sector. So Taker's coming here on a bit of a charge.
Mr. Suzuka.
He likes his place. He finds the time. As Tracy's saying, that is really cool for Darren Yo's record there. Darren Yo's, I think he said he's 50 next year. So he did it 35 years ago. Or 34 years ago. He set the record. As Schundelmeyer now looking for the up and under. Darren Yo just put a wheel on the curb there. Oh, Tibbs didn't get the exit he wanted. Door was open a little bit for Tibbs here. Let's take a look at Gary Leach into Spoon.
It's our Gary Leach check.
Massively different this time. He didn't use as much of the curb and ran a little wider on the exit curb as he has a twitch coming out of Spoon.
He's probably saying a lot of things.
If Mike's got the stream playing, Gary is probably cursing us as Schundelmeyer having a look to the outside of Darren Yo, and Darren Yo, he's got to give Tibbs that room. The nose is just there. Tibbs now coming back up to the inside of 130. Oh, he's going to think better of it and wait. But Sky looking racy all of a sudden now, and he's just having a look on the curb, still up the inside into the Casio triangle, but can't do it there. Rob Smith, is everyone's stream breaking up or just mine? But apparently the streams are breaking up, so we do apologise for that. Hopefully the stream will continue to stay stable now.
It looks stable on my phone.
Not seeing any problems on the PC, so let us know if it stays stable or not. But at the minute, this is 200R. He has. He's got a heck of a run over Taker coming up through 200R. Harris and Taker going side by side. So Taker was pushing hard to catch Dan Davis. He's now got Michael Harris putting him under pressure. Around the outside comes Harris and over Taker. We're not going to be able to do a Gary Spoon check. Up the inside comes Machado. Okay. Let's do a quick Gary Spoon check. Through Spoon he goes. Perfectly fine that time around, and Harris loses back out to Overtaker but stays ahead of Machado. And now Schundelmeyer and Darren, they are still hammer and tong as well. This is a great fight at the minute between these two. Mike Matthews is coming, but all that hard work Overtaker's just done, well, one mistake and it's back down the toilet again.
Yeah, dirty tyre syndrome, isn't it? One dip a wheel in the tyres, it takes a few corners to clean them off. Even in a racing sim.
Mike Matthews now 0.8 of a second off the back of Schundelmeyer. Daz will probably be hoping that Schundelmeyer can fall into the clutches of Matthews and Mike can just put him under pressure. So keep our eyes on Overtaker now. That gap's as big as it's been all race. Dan Davis 5 seconds he's got now Overtaker. Mike Matthews sat 0.6 behind Schundelmeyer, so gap is pretty decent at the moment, Phil.
Yeah, pretty decent. That's pretty comfortable, I would say. With the window open in 4 minutes' time. If I were Sky, I'd do an undercut and try to get out of the dirty air. Get out of Daz's dirty air.
Because if he's got the pace as well, Phil, you know, he's going to want to not be sort of getting onto the back of Clouden as quick, is he?
No. We could see what people are going to do if we set in all everyone's streams, but we choose not to, so we say this every week, but it's better that we don't know what's going on. Meanwhile, Harris is still keeping within half a second.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on their gaps while watching this fine. Mike's not gained much his lap. In fact, if anything, he's lost a 10th.
Gary check through Spoon.
Gary check through Spoon, that's a valid reason. Let's have a look at Gary Leach now. Here he comes, enters it. A little more over the curb. Good second part. Bit wide on exit of the second bit there, Gary. If anything, I'd tighten up that second part of Spoon. And Schundelmeyer there as well, just a little twitchy on the exit of Spoon. He'll kill us when we talk to him after.
This is going to be the thing now if you
Did Mike just give Tibbs a flash of the lights here? I'm not sure. But Mike's now within 0.4 of a second, so Schundelmeyer now got to maybe just put one eye on their mirrors, see where Mike Matthews is approaching from. And this could be what Daz needs.
Yeah, because then Sky's going to be distracted by the blue Ferrari behind him.
There's about a minute and a half until the pit window opens for the drivers around here. I'm wondering if we're going to see Vienna enter the pits. We'll probably be at the pit window for the start of the next lap. Dan has pulled another 10th over Taker, so whatever happened to Taker, he's just lost a yard of pace.
I think Clouden kicked up the dirt in front of Daz through turn 2.
That gap as well, yeah, I think he is, yeah, I think he's just done it again. That gap as well is 1.8 now. Jamal just doesn't seem to have any pace in that Mercedes around here. I think he's just lost the confidence in that Merc.
I think he might have been better off in the Aston.
Yeah. I
That
have to
they
agree.
used in the endurance season.
I have to agree.
Right, let's look at the Dunlop hairpin. No, Dunlop hairpin, that's a never thing. The hairpin.
Oh, Schundelmeyer, a little wide, little loosey-goosey over the curb there then. Out of Degner 2. That's put him off the back of Daz a little more and put him into the clutches of Mike Matthews.
Oh, he's gone through 200R now. So
yeah, we go for our
Gary
latest update of Spoon. You know, let's do a saucy one. Let's go on board Gary Leach. Let's see that steering wheel in operation. Look, nicely done from Gary. Just picks up that throttle. Oh, a bit of a twitch. Nothing too bad there. Gary Leach had his absolutely majestic from you. Back down to Sky.
On ledger. I think he is. He's just dropped off the back of Ben.
He has dropped off the back of Ben. We'll keep our eyes on the gap. Sky's already, so he's had that moment through Degner too, but he's dropped Mike a little bit and got back onto the rear of Darren Yo. So really ebbing and flowing between these three at the moment. And yeah, all of a sudden now Mike through 130 has got a heck of a run on Schundelmeyer. Looking up the inside to the chicane is Mike Matthews. Not close enough to get the move done, but what a run through 130 for Mike there.
Yeah, that was a hell of a run, wasn't it? Now Sky's a bit wide, so he is now watching his mirrors to see where Matthews is.
And Darren, you can just see now, look, 9/10 of a second. Mike Matthews pulls out into turn 1. Not going to be able to get that done from there, though. So Mike patiently waits and thinks about another manoeuvre. Harry's still within half a second of Overtaker, but they have now got the gap down to 5 seconds, does Taker, to that of Dan Davis. Pit window opens. Yellow flag for the 131. So he's had a moment somewhere, and he's fallen into the clutches of Jamal. Doesn't look to be any damage. So I just wonder if he's had a twitch at a part of the lap. And it wasn't Spoon.
It wasn't Spoon. So we're trying to keep looking at him through Spoon, haven't we?
Schundelmeyer has once again gained onto the back of Darren Yo. I say gained, it's 8/10. He's pulled a 10th back, but he's dropped Mike again. So really is ebbing and flowing at the moment. Tib seems to be careful at 130R track warnings. Possibly so, that is probably the case. Gary's now under pressure from Jamal Clouden, so we can have a live Spoon check whilst the battle with Jamal. Gary Leach in that Porsche with Jamal Clouden in the Mercedes-Benz. Round 200R they come now. And Overtaker's got that gap opened up to a second. Into Spoon comes Gary. Touches the curb, runs it out wide, brings it back in. Keep the rear in check.
But
yeah, I see no problem with that.
No.
Not a clue. Emmanuel Machado within 4/10 now on Michael Harris. They're pretty close. Let's go to this fight for a little bit. We've not seen much of this battle at all. And Machado, good run through the chicane. Pit window open. Is anybody in straight away? No, the top 4 all stay out on track.
Ben stays out, as does Ledger. Does Gary pit.
Nice quiet race at the minute for Ben. Ledger put him under pressure, but backed out of it. Machado going up the inside, though, a turn 1. And through the first corner they go. And Emmanuel Machado has the move done on Michael Harris. Great move, Darren Yo into the pits. Gary Leach is now fending off that of Jamal Clouden.
Daz is the first pit caller in the
Possibly not probably not a bad option for Daz.
O'Brien's in. I'm not surprised. He's got quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Pedro in as well, just to get it done.
Nope. Vienna carries on.
Vienna carries on, and Darren Yo will come out just behind Vienna then. But Machado now running up in P3. Overtaker's got the gap down to 4.8.
Again, that's ebbing and flowing, that gap around the 5
So
seconds.
at the minute as well, Phil, what we've got to remember is, so if he changes tyres, if Overtaker changes tyres, it's a 27-second pit swing. That'll give it 32 seconds roughly because of the gap that already exists, or a 33-second gap because of the gap that already exists. If Dan changes tyres, Dan's only going to lose 23 seconds if Overtaker doesn't change tyres and only puts 1 litre of fuel in.
Yeah.
Possibly even 22 seconds. So at the moment, you know, if Dan was to change tyres, would he catch Overtaker at 22 seconds? Possibly. Would Overtaker at the moment at 32 seconds? Probably not. Bearing in mind 2 minutes a lap.
2 minutes a lap. Dan's now crossed the line, so the top 4 haven't pitted.
No, and Gary has pulled a massive gap between himself and Oat Scissorhands himself, who boxes, as does Schundelmeyer. Where's Mike? Mike's had a moment. Mike's down in 12th. Just looking to see if we can see any damage.
Can't see much.
Can't see anything on the lap. Oh, yeah, the opposite side of the car's got some damage. So Mike in a bit of strife here then. So just going a bit quiet as Emmanuel Machado is 9/10 ahead of Michael Harris.
Yeah, can Machado catch Overtaker? Is the BM in its face? Or
I think it is, because he's just lost half a second to Overtaker. Chris is saying that Ben needs the top 4 to fight for him to be able to catch up. I don't think they're going to be fighting too much. Taker's now back into a rhythm. Schundelmeyer's out the pits. Did Darren Yeo get ahead of Schundelmeyer? No. And
No.
Schundelmeyer jumped Jamal.
Yeah.
And Daz
Good
has
stop
jumped
by
Jamal. So Sky with another good pit stop to jump Darren Yeo, but Darren Yeo's also jumped Clouden. Matt Wright is out of pit lane. Darren Yeo has got through. Fraser O'Brien is nowhere near. So Mike Matthews comes out behind Matt Wright as well. Interesting.
A lot of people just hit at the halfway point, don't they? Really? So if they do change tyres, they're not fresh still, but you will, as race engineer, what we get for some reason, it says we're halfway through.
Gap is back up to 4.8 seconds, by the way.
And Harris is back on the back of Machado.
Yeah, just watching that fight now. And he is back on the back. Machado's missed the chicane. Harris is going to go through. So a mistake for Machado at the chicane, and Harris retakes that position. Top 4 stay out, as does Ben. Ledger's coming in. What about Gary Leach?
Oh, I forgot to do my spoon check.
Yeah, well,
He's fine.
he's got it. He's got it sussed. I don't know why he's bothered. He's mastered spoon.
Yeah, I don't know what he's worried about. Do you?
No, not at all. Here comes Paolo. Does Paolo pit? Patrick Ledger, the only man to pit this lap. So what can Schundelmeyer do? Now Schundelmeyer's clear of Yo by 4 seconds nearly, by the way. Heck of a stop. We get to see Schundelmeyer's pace. He's got Yo done. He's got that of Jamal Clouden done. So now we get to see Schundelmeyer's pace. Patrick Ledger's done his pit stop. He's on his way out now. And now we get to see this Porsche in Schundelmeyer's hands really push on a little bit here.
Yeah. Ledger's already out of the pits, and Sky's now coming to the start-finish line.
Could Sky jump Gary?
Possibly. Very possible. We'll find out, because they're literally 2 laps to do pit stop.
Yeah. So here's your race leader. Only thing that's happened for Dan in this race is there was small contact at turn 1 with Overtaker. And he slid a little bit on the exit to Spoon there. Apart from that, it's been another flawless race for Dan Davis.
Yeah, let's not jinx him though. We don't want Silverstone that time.
Yeah.
He started
I was told that
celebrating
Jamal's mum found that rather funny on the little short that Dan did of himself. If you haven't seen it, go over to our YouTube shorts and check out Dan spinning at Luffield when he final lap, second place. Dan's coming in.
Dan's in.
So what does Taker do? Because Taker's got clear air, he's going to stay out. Harris in, Machado stays out. What's Ben going to do now then? Ben's coming into the pits. What does Mr. Spork do?
Spork.
Yeah. He's going to stay out for one more run. Paolo's then the next man who hasn't pitted. Where's Ledger behind Paolo? Ledger is coming down the Sector 2 time now. Where was Paolo? Paolo was behind Joe and Schundelmeyer, wasn't he? Paolo's pitted.
Yeah.
So, but he was ahead of Mike, because Mike had whatever moment he had. Dan's done. Harris is done. Where's Dan going to feed out? Oh, no traffic. Closest car is Gary Leach. And Gary Leach is quite a way up the road. Ian Best, why is Fraser last? Did he spin again? He was involved in an incident at the start and then has had a spin, Ian, yep.
Dan's got a good real estate there. He's also in clear air. I don't think he changed tyres.
No, I don't think he did. He's got 5 seconds. No, he's got. We don't know what he's got to Gary Leach yet. But what we do know is Gary's got to pit this lap. So by the time Dan probably catches Gary, you know, that one's going to be all over.
Seconds.
Paolo is coming out the pits now. I believe he's on his way out. Camera pans out now. There is Paolo, and there is Mike. So Mike pretty close to the back of Paolo now.
Yep, Paolo didn't repair any damage he had on the front of his car because there was a few scuffs in the paintwork.
That'll probably be from when he hit Matt Wright after Matt Wright tapped Mike Matthews round.
Right, take her through 130R. It's gone a bit quiet now in this phase of the race as the pit stops filter through.
We've got Mike on the back of Paolo and that's it, but Taker's surely got to come in. Yep, in he comes. In comes Machado, surely.
Oh, get that stop, Taker.
And Gary Leach comes through. And he's now going to have to come in as well.
Here's Mr. Leach.
Fastest lap for Dan Davis at the moment as well. Gary is coming in. Dan's already through 130R, by the way.
Yeah, Dan claimed like about a second and a sector on Gary.
Nice pit for Ben, said Chris. So we'll see what he can do. Yeah, Taker station. Dan's already going to be flying past Overtaker. Pit window's now closed. Taker goes green. Where's Harris? He's coming down the start straight. Taker's off the limiter. Machado, though, for Harris. Machado not yet off the limiter. Harris is through. What about Ben? Gary Leach has just gone green. Ben might go around the outside of Machado here. He does so. Runs a little wide. That's going to allow Machado back up the inside. And Ben gets out of that one. So Ben nearly got Machado done. Gary's got a Stogo penalty.
Oh, Gary.
I've always said, be cautious. Gary at an event here on another league on Sunday night took it 20 kilometres an hour slower than the pit lane speed limit. I've always said, be cautious. He's risked it too much tonight. I didn't. We laughed at him for taking it 20 kilometres slower. Mike has passed Paolo in all of that.
So the gap between Dan and Overtaker is pretty much the same as it was
gained
before
half a second again for Dan.
Yeah, so neither of them have changed tyres. I don't think.
And that half a second is possibly Dan Taker being a little bit more cautious on his in-lap, or Dan just having a better out-lap.
Yeah. So...
Machado's got Ben on the back of him. Machado's been the biggest loser out of the pit stops.
He has, because he lost out to Harris, didn't he? Because he got in front of Harris.
Went back behind him, though, went wide at the chicane, but was still close. And Ben wasn't really near, and now Ben's there lurking for a top 4. Gary Leach.
Apart from Ben and Machado, are pretty spread
a couple
out,
of seconds, 23 minutes left. Gary Leach, right, just after his mastered spoon.
But he needs to master the Casio chicane and the pit entry.
What a shame. I had 2 last night. Someone took out the pit entry and I couldn't remember where I had slowed down. There we go. Rob Smith. That's why he had his drive-throughs last night.
We need to do something about that, don't we, really? I'm not going to sit and watch the pit entries again like I did first season we did this.
Gary. Oh, he's missed the chicane now. Gary's coming straight in for that stop-go. Gary could Gary needs to be ahead of Vienna.
Look quick again in the pit lane.
Oh, God. Don't give him another one. Machado's pulled away from Ben. That's over a second now. Dan has gapped Overtaker a little bit. So your running order is Dan Davis, from then that of Overtaker, with Michael Harris P3. Machado is P4. Ben in P5. Patrick Ledger at P6. Guy Schundelmeyer P7. Darren Yeo is P8 from Jamal Clouden P9. Matt Wright P10 from Mike Matthews P11. Paolo is P12. Gary Finau is P13. Then it's Pedro Vienna and Fraser O'Brien, who is 14th and 15th. We didn't see Diz in this one. And Gary then is going to feel that pain and drop behind these two. He's still not moving yet, is Gary. And Gary will be down in last place, as he's still not away. And that's going to be painful for the two-time champion.
Yeah, it will be painful. Two-time champion back on Project Cars 2.
Yep.
Season 1 and 2, wasn't it?
Damn. And Plover. It's a sad day for Latvia, because RFS lost. Yes, I'm drunk. A bit. And he put brackets inside of a bracket there.
Yeah, he's definitely drunk.
Plavsky, when are you getting a PS5 so you can join us back on the Pro-Am grid? It'd be great to see you out there.
Well, if push comes to shove, you can get Series S.
Okay, so yeah, get yourself an Xbox, Plavsky.
Series S are cheap enough. I think they're less than £200 at the moment in Black Friday.
That's provided Latvia does a Black Friday.
He could buy my one off me, but he needed.
Probably be cheaper to send that to him and buy him a power cord than anything else. Dan's gap. If I'm right, that is the partner's dad. The surname rings a bell. To pick with him if it is Max Verstappen.
you got to be part.
I've got to be careful. Overtaker's gained 0.2 of a second on Dan. We're currently sat watching Ben at the moment, but Matt Wright gaining on the back of Jamal Clouden here then, coming up through the S's. The Ferrari has looked a pretty good call this week, Phil, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. The Ferrari's been very handy around here. Really.
Hey, Plavsky, you pay for the upgrade on the PC and we'll be there, sunshine, where we can talk. He's done me a lovely livery, though, for the PC on the BMW as Plaver. I'm not going to deny that. He's done a beautiful one. But Jamal...
I need to go back to Bentley.
I might have to get him to do me one, you know. Jamal, at the moment, is... he's just not enjoying that Mercedes-Benz, is he?
No, he isn't, is he? He's definitely happier in the Aston than the endurance season.
Yeah, he's much happier in the Aston Martin. Just kicks up a bit of dirt coming through the hairpin corner here then. Matt Wright getting a little closer. This is on board with Matt Wright. And we can just see how close he is starting to get onto the back of that Mercedes-Benz and coming round through 200R in towards Spoon Corner for the 19th time. And Wright's carrying a bit of damage. Jamal just a little wide, a little deep. That's going to be interesting. He has a bit of a snap on the front end now, and here comes Matt Wright getting a better exit out of Spoon Corner. Down the back straight they come towards 130R. Matt Wright going side by side with Jamal Clouden. Jamal, those Mercedes, just has the grunt of the front engine car to stay ahead, and Matt Wright has to tuck back in behind. Mike Matthews watching on in the background with a bit of interest, but Jamal Verpien had a few snaps. That's just cost him a little bit.
It has cost him a little bit, yeah. But it's just, I think it's just his driving style doesn't suit the Merc as much as say in McLaren last season. Yeah, and behind him is Mike Matthews, did he have a peaceful pirouette, did we think?
Must have had a peaceful pirouette. Robert Ramsell here, the Merc has killed its tyres, says Robert. So he thinks that Jamal's gone through his tyres already. Plover, of course, I did a good livery. Do you think? Yeah, I'm not going to answer that one, Plover. Mine came alive around now last night, said Robert. So the Ferrari did seem to obviously come alive. We saw that Ferrari get stronger and stronger. Fraser O'Brien's on the back of Pedro Vienna. These two just haven't been at the races in this second one, have they? They've got Gary 22nd behind, and he's just not got anything. Overtaker's got the gap down to 5.2. Here comes Fraser O'Brien, has a look, tucks back in.
Do you know what we missed? a Gary Spoon chip.
Oh, Pedro Vienna's wide at turn 1. And Fraser O'Brien, thank you, Mama, for the carrots. Up the inside he goes. Lovely manoeuvre that from Fraser. Race 1 winner. Not having the race 2. A bit of a race to forget. Ben's 1.2 off the back of Machado. And Matt...
Get to leads back up to 3.9.
5.4.
5.9.
5.3. 5.3. Yeah, it's all right.
5.395, so it's near 5.4.
Yeah, right. Dropped off the back of Jamal and just didn't close into. He had that one chance, and since then it's kind of, just fell back behind and he sat waiting. So it was as if Jamal, has got the pace, but that one mistake from Jamal opened the door and let him in.
Yeah, where's Gary on the track? Ridiculous. So, lead lap is 5.2 now, overtaking Kane 2 tenths in that sector.
For 16 minutes, tough ass now at this stage of the race.
It is a tough ask because
tyres dying, cars just getting to the end of their hour stint. Unless that Lexus's tyres die off, but Dan's been able to manage his tyres, hasn't he, in that first part of the race, and he's done the thing he's needed to do.
Yeah, he's managed his tyres. He hasn't been driving in dirty air like Tate has when he was behind Harris. Gary's a bit loose through spoon there.
Ben's under a second to Machado. So Ben's just gaining a little bit on the BMW here. Into the hairpin they come. There's the pink Aston Martin just behind the BMW here.
Yep, as they head towards Spoon. You think if we were still a 10-week season, that next week be the last week of the season?
Yeah, it would have been. But we're a 12-week season. And Donington Park's the end.
And it'll probably be raining. Hopefully, we need some wet races.
Although Pro will have it nice and sunny.
Yeah.
Right, so Ben is currently 8 tenths off the back of Machado now. So Ben's starting to just come a little bit closer to the BMW. The Aston Martin is.
Yep, spitting flames up
Rich
the side.
Tuesday night got its 50th podium. Got a few milestone pictures to make this weekend. Might get on them tonight to get them done tonight, ready to post.
Interesting night for Machado. There would be a lot of rubber build-up.
Yeah, unsure about that. There, to be fair, I don't know why he would. You'd have thought that picking up a few marbles would have been making them tyres a little bit slippy. Either way, Machado knows what he's doing.
No, we're not going to buy any Red Bull because we don't want to give that team any more money for them to overspend on.
No comment. Gap under 5 seconds between the leaders.
And energy drinks are bad for you. Especially if you drink them all the time.
Go on, sorry.
Gap's gone out to about 1.1 for between Ben and Machado now.
Just seeing it open up. Just under 14 minutes left in this race, then. Don't forget, if you like what you see here at SimPlay Motorsport, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and also hit the bell to be notified when we go live. We'll be back live next Tuesday with Dan Davis for Kota in the GT4s. It does look very wet. It's not possibly dry for Wednesday and Thursday at the moment. Jamal Clouden, track limits, drive-through penalty. Well, that'll put to bed a fight with Matt Wright and Mike Matthews, because a drive-through penalty around here will cost you 27 seconds. So that is his race put to bed. If you also want to check out our fantastic sponsors in the description below, Design Manchester, producers of vinyl graphics, laser engraved gifts, mugs, printer clothing and much more, including SimPlay Motorsport merchandise. Head over to their Facebook page. And also Audio Sport, manufacturers of VW Transporter T4 audio solutions and styling products. Head over to www.audiosports.co.uk or check out their Facebook page as well. Jamal Clouden, drive-through penalty to his name. He's got Matt Wright all over the back of him, and that's just extending them track limits a little bit, possibly on just like the outside of Spoon or the Degners, which has just got him them warnings. Matt Wright's within 0.4 of a second. 27 seconds he's going to lose. I assume he'll come out ahead of... I assume Paolo will get past him, but Fraser O'Brien probably won't be anywhere near him. And is Jamal going to come straight in? Yes, he is. So there's Matt Wright. There's Mike Matthews. They're both going to get past, and Jamal Clouden in for that drive-through penalty. Just capping off with Gary Leach, a bit of a bad night.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a night, and of course next week, no more drop scores. Is it next week?
It's after next week, so next week will be the last drop score. What it is this week, no new sign-ups are allowed to enter because we don't allow new drivers in for the final 3 weeks of the season. But next week will be the final race of drop scores, so if people have drop scores to take, well, next week's the last one.
Yeah. Well, when drop score's 0, you can't get any lower than 0, can you? For some people. Yeah, it's a bit of a lull.
Driver of the day list, by the way.
It's a bit of a lull. All the gaps are quite big now. Ben's around a second behind Macchiato. Yeah, it's gone quiet. Occasionally this happens in racing. The race sort of...
I'm just looking at the options for driver of the day at the moment, and I think I've gone for what I feel has been the strongest 2 races for these drivers.
Harris is one of them, I reckon.
No.
Macchiato the other.
No, Harris was 11th in race 1. I've gone for Ben, who was up there race 1. So was Schundelmeyer. So was Machado, and so was Patrick Ledger. Now, I assume that Chris will vote for Ben and Tracy will vote for Schundelmeyer. That's probably a given. We are currently watching that fight of Matt Wright, with Mike Matthews trying to get close to the back of him. So let's see who's going to do what here then. And this is really the closest fight. Not yet, it's not. It actually is still that Ben fight. A run through then is Dan Davis with the fastest lap and the point for pole, as well as leading this race. 4.4 clear of overtakers. The takers started to bring that gap down a little bit. Michael Harris is P3 with Machado P4. Not really close enough to the back of Harris. Ben is P5 with Patrick Ledger P6. Guy Schundelmeyer P7 from Darren Yeo with Matt Wright 9th. Mike Matthews 10th. Paolo 11th. Clouden in 12th. Only 3.6 clear of Fraser O'Brien. Then it's Pedro Viana 7 seconds behind. And Gary Leach after his stop go down in 15th place. But Mike now within 1.1 seconds of Matt Wright. So Mike's just starting to get on the back of Matt Wright a little bit more here. Phil, do you have a driver of the day in mind?
Yeah, I've got 2. And both of them are in pink cars, to be honest.
You see, they are my second and third option. My option is someone else, provided the result stays as it is. Mike's getting very close to the back of Matt Wright here. So Mike's Ferrari looking a bit stronger than Matt Wright's at the moment. He's now got it under a second. Oh, Gary's back in again. What's he done? He's never out of fuel twice in the same track at the same week.
No, but he might. Can he be? But at least this time he's got a few more laps to try to do anything.
He's not going to do anything. He was well off the back of Pedro Viana. He's now a lap down to Dan Davis. I don't think Dan's going to lap Pedro. Matt Wright very wide at Spoon. This could make Mike Matthews a little bit more interested then, coming towards the end of this lap. Mike is 4.7. Mike will be 4.7. Mike is just over 5 seconds behind Darren Yeo. So that's a big ask with 8 minutes left, especially on a 2-minute a lap circuit. Taker's still 4.4 seconds, so needs to kind of go about just over a second a lap at the minute, Phil, to get on the back of Dan. But as we know, catching's one thing, passing is another. Driver of the week, says Rob Smith, is Ellie. That's not a bad shout. On debut, clean sweep for her. Was fantastic to see. Mike Matthews, little twitch out the corner. This is a long stop. Did Gary have damage? Because this is a pretty long stop for him.
Yeah, as my cameras have gone back to camera set 1. Wish it saved when you look at people in the pit lane as well.
I cannot wait to find out what happened to Gary Leach here. Mike Matthews now still within 0.8 of a second. Ben's nearly 2 seconds behind Machado. It's going to be interesting here today to see who is going to be who's going to come out where. But with no red line junkies out there on the grid, Phil, you have to feel that this Constructors' Championship is going a third season in a row to SimPlay Racing.
Yeah, it's looking that way, isn't it?
They scored 1,000 points exactly with Dan Davis's pole position. Oh, and just as I was looking at the tables there, Mike Matthews has just driven past that of Matt Wright. So fair enough, Mike Matthews is ahead of Matt Wright now. So pretty easy. Is Matt Wright just struggling here? Is he fuel saving or struggling with tyres or something? Because that was relatively simple for Mike Matthews and he's already built a good gap.
Yeah, possibly tyres.
So what is he? 10.9 to Paolo. Let's keep our eyes on this gap, Phil. 10.9 to Paolo. Just in the middle sector. So sector 2's coming up just before 130R. We'll see what gap is there. But like we said, SimPlay Racing, 245 points clear. They're going to score a lot of points here over the red line junkies. Still 746 points up for... 745 points up for grabs. So... still plenty of time at the moment, isn't there, for this Constructors' Championship to take shape. But the gap of 245 at the minute, extending in this race, because both the SimPlay Racing drivers are going to score points, it is pretty hard. The gap, Paolo to Matt Wright, is increased to 11.1. So Matt Wright actually pulled 210. So maybe just a mistake in the sector that allowed Mike through so easy.
Yeah, ran wide, possibly. Again, it happens, and yes, Palava, there is a girl on the grid.
Now the one I want to question. Darren Yeo is now 3.3 ahead of Mike. Mike just took half a second out of him in the last sector. Is Darren Yeo fuel saving?
Possibly.
Or have his tyres gone? Because half a second Mike has just pulled on him in that last sector. The gap was 4.7 at one point. It's now 3.3. So... poor.
Yeah, I've got a feeling not a lot of people did change tyres, so I think there's some dead tyres.
I think that next week could possibly be the biggest track to change tyres on, where drivers may feel it. Kota, very, normally a warm circuit and a very demanding circuit on your tyres.
And if it's wet, dry and everything like that.
No, but I'm just talking if it's fully dry. Fully dry, bit of sunshine, I reckon drivers are more than likely changing tyres. Mike in the first sector, 4/10 he took out to Darren Yeo.
It flicked yellow flag somewhere, so I don't know who's gone off.
Is that Clouden?
I think it might be Clouden.
Yeah, I think it is, because O'Brien has now passed him. And on the track map, it looks like the two dots is Clouden and Vienna. Yes, it is. So something has happened to Jamal. And he's now down to 13th. Well, he knows he's probably not going to get beat by Gary Leach, but he's now under pressure from Pedro Vienna. And this extra point for Vienna, if he can get past Jamal, helps out the Naval Racing team over that of Team SPR in the Constructors, because that gap is now opened up to nearly 30 points. It's 26 points the gap. And with Gary finishing in 15th and Darren Yeo in 8th, with Machado 4th and Vienna 14th, they're going to score some more points over them.
Yeah. Well, I think Clouden is going to put that Merc on the same par as the Jag and other cars that no one got on with. The Renault RS01 from Project Cars 2. I think that went on there, didn't it?
I think so. Let's see what happens, though. At the moment, rounding Spoon corner goes Jamal and that of Vienna. Mike's got the gap down to 2 seconds. Where's Dan Davis? Coming up towards 200R now. And 3 minutes 30 left on the clock. I think there'll be 2 laps left after this current lap that Dan Davis is on. So this is Jamal, who's in a fight at the moment with that of Pedro Vienna, trying to pull away. We'll keep our eyes on the gap between Mike and Darren Yeo as well. Mike's already pulled 2 seconds over Matt Wright. And Darren Yeo at the moment just struggling out there for a little bit of pace. Keep our eye on that gap though. Vienna's still not close enough to Jamal Clouden to make the move as they enter in towards 2. In fact, Jamal looks like he's probably recovered from his earlier mistake. Go back to Mike Matthews. That's 1.7 now, the gap. Mike to Darren. Taker's got the gap to 4 seconds to Dan, but two laps to go, Phil. It's not going to be enough, is it?
No, that's you about 3 seconds of that faster and get the overtake done. And as Murray Walker once said, catching is one thing, passing.
Yeah, passing's another. Yeah, so he needs to go 1.4 seconds quicker a lap. This lap, and that's just to get onto him as they cross the line to finish the race. So Dan needs 2 squeaky clean laps here. Taker just needs to chip away. Maybe just get a bit closer to Dan to put Dan under some pressure at the end. Mike Matthews 1.5 seconds. Jamal's opened their gap back up to a second over Vienna. But it's 3.8 Dan to overtaker. Let's see what it is as they come through sector 1. Back up to 4 seconds. So Dan's got this under control, if you ask me.
Oh yeah, I think that Dan's gap management.
Yeah.
He's doing a Sebastian Vettel right now. It's just sort of like managing the gap.
Yeah, indeed he is.
Vettel in his prime.
So Mike Matthews looking to pick some more points up over Darren Yeo. Darren Yeo, on for another good P8 for him. Another top 10 finish, which I'm sure he'll take to try and push towards that top 10 in the championship. Kota coming up. I know Darren Yeo's not the biggest fans of Kota. Just hasn't had the track time around there, he says. So obviously that's going to be a key for Darren Yeo next week, is that amount of track time he can get on the Circuit of the Americas layout. As they come through the Degners, Mike within half a second now with Darren Yeo.
He's on him, isn't he? Lap to the lead's opened up to 4.4 now.
Yeah. Massively on him at the moment. Can't believe what I'm reading. Apparently, according to the event page, Graham is confirmed for next week.
No.
He's declined GT4s though, but he's in there for Pro-Am. Dan Davis starts the final lap of the race here then. Ben's had a little moment apparently. That's put Patrick Ledger within 5 seconds. I think he's still got time to just bring it home. Dan's on the final lap. He's opened that gap up to 4.3 seconds.
Just gap management into it by
massively.
Dan.
What it is for Daz though is it's a case of don't let Mike through at any cost and hang on to that P8. Oh, that's a little wide for Mike through there.
That other for Ferraris.
Yeah.
Both under the same stable.
Yeah, under the SimPlay Racing stable. But 2 different teams, and they'll fight each other hard. There's been no team orders at SimPlay Racing this year. We've seen Dan and Mike fight each other very hard.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're going to see Darren and Mike fight each other very hard. Yes, they're under the same stable, but they race for separate teams on the day. Darren Yeo just a little wider than Mike Matthews. And as they come up towards the S's now, Mike is right on the back of him. We're going to have to keep our eyes on Dan Davis, though. He's at the final. He's at Spoon in the final sector. And he hasn't won since race 2 of Barcelona. But he's going to put his championship in a very, very strong position here. As Dan Davis comes around to 130, we're still watching Mike and Darren at the Degners at the moment. We'll flick to Dan when he gets to the chicane. Has Darren Yeo just got enough in the tank to stay ahead of Mike Matthews here? Mike very close then as we switch back to Dan Davis. It's a great drive from him today. He took the pole. He led from the start. Dan Davis, race winner at Suzuka. Great drive from him. Overtaker will come across the line for second place. Good race result for Overtaker there. Then it's going to be Michael Harris, P3. Another good result for Michael Harris on the podium for the young man in the Lexus. Emmanuel Machado will come home for a P4. Great result for the Naval Racing team in terms of their points for the Constructors' Championship. Then it'll be Ben. Solid result for Ben for a P5. Really starting to pick up some points now in that Aston Martin. Patrick Ledger, another good night for him. 6th place to go with his 4th place in race 1. Sky Schundelmeyer, great result for him as well. That is a P7 in this race. And Darren Yeo, has he just done enough to hang in there? I think Mike cut the chicane because Darren Yeo's got back through. So Darren Yeo will take 8th place. I believe Mike Matthews is going to hang on in there for 9th. Yes, he is, but it's Darren Yeo in 8th. Mike Matthews in 9th. Matt Wright in 10th. Gary Leach down the order.
P15.
In P15, where's Matt Wright? There he is. That'll be a 10th place for him. Paolo is going to come to line for P11. Decent results for Paolo tonight, to 9th and 11th. Really good. Not too bad for him. One podium this season. Fraser O'Brien, not the race 2 to match the race 1, but it's going to be P12 at the end of the day for him here. And then Jamal Clouden, who's probably, with Gary Leach, had a night to forget. A 14th and a 13th. Pedro Viana, P14 in this one. Jamal Clouden gets to the line, P13 for him. 14th then for Pedro Viana. And we'll take a very short moment while we head into the Discord server for the driver interviews. And so we are now in the Discord chat for the driver interviews then, and hopefully we'll be joined by a couple of the drivers in just a few moments' time. I believe Phil is already into the commentary box, and we'll just wait for drivers to join us in here for them few chats then. But the Constructors' Championship, well, a few more teams can no longer win that Constructors' Championship, and it is going the way of SimPlay Racing, who have a 325-point lead over the Red Line Junkies. The Naval Racing Team are 15 points behind them boys in 3rd place. They have pulled 41 points over Team SPR tonight. BSP Racing are in that fight with Team SPR now. Team FBR are down in P6 with Fat Bloke Bandits P7. BSP Esports are P8. They cannot win it. The Xbox Industries Racing cannot win it in P9. P10 is Dansab Racing. They also can't win it with Greasy Bandits out the running as well. And in that Drivers' Championship then, as we just refresh the tables a moment, in that Drivers' Championship, Dan Davis has a 197-point lead over Michael Harris with Skunky in P3. Mike Matthews is P4 with Matt Wright in P5. Machado is P6 with then that of Ben in P7. Kieran O'Reilly is P8. Darren Yo P9. Ian McGowan P10. Pedro Viana P11. Jamal Clouden P12. Gary Leach in 13th place. He needs Dan to not score one more point, and he needs to win every race, take every pole and every fastest lap to win this championship. Overtaker cannot win it, down in 14th. Neither can Paolo, Patrick Ledger, Sky Schundelmeyer, Rasmussen, Blackmore, Michael Eckholt, Max Mulder, Witchup, Diz, O'Brien, Tim Ventink, Daniel Cosby, Beasley, Alex Stardog, Barclay and Max for crashing. We are joined by P1 and 3, and I've just going to have to tag Overtaker because
there he is.
He was. I think he's got. Is he in now?
He's in now.
Right. So we will wait to speak with Overtaker. Just put him on a mute a second. We will though speak with Michael Harris first. Michael, P3 tonight. Again, another good result for yourself in this one, and a pretty good night once again for the Lexus.
Yeah, decent night indeed for the Lexus again. Dan showing exactly what it can do with P1. I'm not too sure if anybody is going to stop him. But we'll see. The car was pretty decent tonight. Race 1, I just couldn't really find a way past Mike Matthews, so it was a bit of a frustration, but eventually got him at the end. Not too sure if track limits will come in play there, but we'll find out. We'll let the stewards decide that one. But race 2, pretty decent to be fighting it out with Overtaker. Probably the first half of the race, and the same with Machado as well. They kept me on my toes, and they kind of ruined my plan for the rest of the race of saving the tyres, because they just dropped off about 20-25 minutes in. So after the pit stops, it was just a case of bring it home, see where we could get.
Yeah, and on a difficult circuit of overtaking, really, it was a good night, like I say, cracking fight between yourself, Overtaker and Machado in that second race. We head to Kota next week for the rounds 19 and 20 of the season. Obviously a bit of a different circuit to Suzuka, but weather looking pretty atrocious. Have you driven the Lexus in the wet yet?
No, never. I've never really driven much, to be honest, in the wet on this game, to be honest. So it's all a learning curve. Even if it's dry, it's going to be a learning curve, especially with the Lexus.
Well, Michael, congratulations tonight. Congrats on the P3 in this race. Obviously second in the championship. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks again.
And we can now speak with Overtaker as well. Overtaker, it's been a while since we've seen you on the podium, buddy. But a good race for the Mustang. Obviously, normally you go pretty well around Suzuka. You are the most successful driver around this circuit, but just didn't have enough tonight to catch Dan.
Yeah, we've had similar pace. We were lapping similarly for 30 laps, so yeah. The one who qualified P1 was probably gonna end on top, so that's how it is.
And it was all happening really at turn 1, wasn't it? You were side by side, not sure about the contact. I think it was just a bit of a coming together, but then it was out of turn 1, Dan was in front, and it was a battle of chess really from there, but you just, like you say, matching each other, hard to overtake around this circuit.
Yeah, about turn 1, I don't want to stir anything, but I think from my point of view he went a bit deep in it, and he caught with his left side of the car, my car, and bumped me off the track, and then I lost our position to Harris, so it was a tough job for me. I think I'm gonna put it in, but let's see what the store is gonna say. Yeah, race 1 I had incident, so heavy damage, tried to get to the end. But
we head to we head to the Circuit of the Americas next week, buddy. We know how difficult COTA can be. Obviously, the Ford Mustang should be pretty decent around there. It's got some good top speed for them long straights that it has. What can we do at COTA?
Like I switched the car this time, so it's a lot of tracks. It's my first time driving, so I don't know what the expectation is gonna be like. Like you said, yeah, Mustang's gonna be good on the straights. Probably gonna struggle sector 1, so no expectations really. Just I'm gonna have to put it on the track and see where I am.
Well, no worries. Overtaker, congratulations on that P2 tonight. Well done in the second race.
Yep, and congrats to Dan and Harris as well.
And we can speak now with Dan Davis as well. Dan, another race win, another surprising pole position at the very, very end of qualifying. Pretty controlled race from yourself, really, there from Dan.
To be fair, I was not quite expecting to be that consistent in the Lexus here tonight. But regarding what Overtaker was saying in turn 1, it wasn't much of a lunge. It's just trying to, I know if he was going to get around the outside, he was going to at least have a look into the S's. I did kind of miss my brakes ever so slightly and gave him a slight tap. So if he puts it in, he puts it in. I've got my footage ready. So I thought it was just hard turn 1 action. But yeah, I mean, I know Overtaker, if he gets too close to me, I start to sweat and make mistakes. So I had to just keep that buffer. And was not expecting that. Suzuka's always been a bad omen to me and never really had much luck around here, and for once it's actually gone my way. So nonetheless, did it in qualifying, and like Overtaker said, whoever was going to be on pole and had the inside for turn 1 was more likely going to win this race, and that was what was key. But nonetheless, he put on a great fight once again, and I do enjoy racing Overtaker. And again, nice to see Harris up there in the Lexus.
Yeah, nice to see Harris up there in the Lexus. Talk us through race 1 a little bit, Dan. I'll ask you about next week. Just hard to overtake here, really, and that seemed to be the case.
Yeah, it was just being patient, really, and using kind of the pits to your advantage in this one. 130R for me was a really strange corner. Like 1 minute I'd go through it fine, next minute the car wanted to slide a lot. So, and a lot of the times I was both races on 3 track limits pretty much most of the time. So it was just managing the track more than people. But me and Clouden had a good fight into Degner 1, and then I passed I believe it was Overtaker into Spoon, into 130R, and Mike before Spoon. So it was good, clean racing, considering this track is very difficult to race on.
Talk us through, because I know you're in a headset party with him. Did he run out of fuel again, Gary?
No, he was eating crisps.
That's right. Okay. COTA next week, Dan. Obviously, we've seen the weather that Mike's put in the Discord. It looks pretty atrocious. You still get to drive this Lexus in the wet. What do you think you can do at COTA? A few straights where you can use that 6th gear in the Lexus?
that's it. The straights is what I'm looking forward to in this thing. The main straight, obviously down the back. The back straight is where this thing is going to be an absolute animal, and that's where people just need to keep a worry on it. In the wet, again, just like Harris, I've never driven this thing in the wet, and it's going to be interesting to see how this thing handles in the wet. But I'm quietly confident. It's a very stable car. It's easy to tweak and change. So we'll just have to see, and it's just probably the third sector is where we're going to struggle. But yeah, nonetheless, it was I enjoyed that, and looking forward to COTA, which will be next week. But whatever weather, bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on indeed. Congratulations, Dan. And we're going to be joined by our race 1 winner now, that of Fraser O'Brien. And well, first of all, let's just point out we are honoured and privileged to be joined by a former Porsche Carrera GB driver in the commentary box. Me and Dan and Phil have all been to the touring cars and will enjoy our racing. And so we've probably seen this guy on the track before. But Fraser, race 1 win in the reverse grid. Pretty good day from you. I say pretty good day. Pretty mixed day from yourself.
Oh, no. I mean, the first race was great. But yeah, that second race, I just got caught up in a bit of trouble at the back and had massive damage. And then it was just trying to get through the race as easy as possible. And I was tempted to pit early, but then I thought I'm just going to lose even more time, and it was just getting worse and worse as the tyres got worse.
Bit surprised by the fact that then you sort of caught up with a couple of drivers, Jamal, especially with the drive-through and everything. You managed to gain a few points in that race. You obviously a bit late entry to the championship this year. Are you surprised by some of the drivers on this grid, the pace that you've come up against?
I think what surprises me most is how close everyone is. I mean, I've been in leagues before and you finish a race and half the grid's lapped, or they've retired, or they've quit, and things like that. With this, in qualifying, everyone's separated by a second. If you make a little mistake, you're out of it straight away. It's really competitive, really competitive.
And I suppose as well, finally from myself, COTA next week. What can you do around there? Are you looking forward to that one?
I'm praying for rain, because I know that Lexus is going to be quick on the straights. So I'm praying for a bit of rain.
There we go then. Fraser, congratulations on the race 1 win. We'll let you get back to it. And thanks for speaking to us tonight. There is Fraser then, your race 1 winner. We do head to COTA next week. Driver of the day from the chat goes the way of that of Ben, who takes a 66% vote for that one. Just looking at the chat, that's how it should be unless the championship is on the line. Great racing. You'll see you next time, says Tracy. Have a great Thanksgiving, Tracy and Sky. Best of have a good one for that one. Well done, Dan, again, says Chris in the chat. I'm absolutely tired after that race. How does Overtaker watch the incident between him and Ledger in the first race? Not quite sure. There, Phil, final comments from you and driver of the day.
Well, my driver of the day was Ben, again. So, he's a bit more solid. Shout out to Tibbs for outstanding undercuts, again, to get in front of people in the pit stops. Suzuka's great fun. I like the circuit because it's a driver's circuit. But now we've moved to COTA, which I don't like as much.
Yeah, agreed there. I'm going to give my driver of the day to Emmanuel Machado. I think the 2 podiums for him. The podium and the 4th is fantastic result for him. But a great honourable mention to Sky Shundelmeyer and to Ben. Great races from themselves, as well as Patrick Ledger and that of Dan for the race win, Overtaker for the 2nd place, and of course Fraser O'Brien for the win as well. But that is all we have time for this evening then here at SimPlay Motorsport. We enter the final 3 weeks, and it's the final week of drop scores next week at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas, America. What is going to happen there before a double British header at Alton Park and Donington Park. Dan Davis will be live on Tuesday night for the GT4s with myself and Dan back in the box on Wednesday evening for the Pro-Ams. Myself and Phil will be back for Pros in a week's time as well. You will not want to miss that action. Remember, if you want to catch up with anything SimPlay Motorsport related, head over to our TikTok, Facebook and Instagram accounts to keep up to date with all information there, as well as press that notification button on the YouTube channel, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you on Tuesday night at the Circuit of the Americas. But from all of us here at SimPlay Motorsport, all that's left to say is good night.
Bye.